top and bottom line, but basically just in line with expectations to slightly higher. It was a beat, but wasn't terribly impressive. It was when the subs number came out, the highest now historic subs number across the board. So the most paid subs in the history of the company. We have a cool graphic that I'll show you in a second, but that was really the data point that kicked off the buying, and then it was just straight upside since then. 6.3% here for Netflix in the pre-market, the big one moving around here today.
It was a big beat, Brendo. A great look there. Earnings per share, everything did better. Earnings per share, they beat revenue, they beat. They experienced a 35% year-over-year increase for their ad-supported membership. Their ad tier accounted for about 50% of signups. Why does that matter? Because the more you watch using their ad tier, the more they make. And they're actually talking about advertising revenue being one of their biggest growth drivers. And they're looking at 2026 to be one of the biggest years for them based on that. So, good luck for them.
Yeah, I mean, you and I were talking about this graphic earlier this morning. This is, if you could put in an image exactly how you want business growth to look year by year, going back to the beginning of the company. This is a picture perfect graphic. So 282.7 million paid subs now for Netflix. And the color coding is just by region. And it was a little bit surprising, I thought, anyways. The blue is actually Europe. So the highest number coming out of Europe, and then North America, or the Americas essentially, is second, and APAC region and Latin America as well in that as well. But just an absolute monster number. 282.7 million paid subs for Netflix. Pretty impressive. Obi, and once again, this time for Sean. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, everybody. Netflix, super impressive. I loved it so much I watched 15 minutes of Outer Banks. Just because I felt like I had to watch something on Netflix. Is it that bad? You don't like it? Adara doesn't like the Outer Banks. No, look, Netflix is amazing. I'm not surprised by the...
That was a net flake.
Is it that bad? I don't know. Maybe it's that bad. But what was I going to say? Oh, no, the Europe number doesn't surprise me because if you like crime stuff or like cop shows or good dramas, they have a lot of really quality like Scandinavian, British procedurals. Like I love those, man. Like they're absolutely fantastic. They have a lot of really good content, and it's not just North America. But they blew it out of the water. The only fear I have is all of the all-time high breaks that we've been taking lately, and I'm really just talking about Apple and Netflix. I mean, Meta kind of did the same thing. Like you get a little scalp trade, and then essentially it ends up a reversion. Like there were good longs yesterday in NVIDIA, and there was a break, and it did break that all-time high, but it didn't follow through. So ultimately, like you've had this issue where you make these breakouts, and they're not bad trades, but you're not getting follow through, and then they actually end up pulling back for the rest of the day. And I don't wonder if Netflix and Apple, two names which are almost a lock, I think, to test all-time highs today, although it was a much better opportunity for that to happen $5 ago on Netflix when it was $1 away. But these are going to get to some all-time highs, I think, soon. I think the breakout trades have been good. Just temper your expectations because the follow-through hasn't been there. And then remember, it's a Friday. And on Fridays, we have a trouble getting past these big option levels. And I'm looking at you, Tesla can't seem to get away from $220. Yeah, but it's hard not to like everything you see out of Netflix. The Chinese names are up. Bitcoin's doing strong. Apple is going to almost certainly break its all-time high. It's 80 cents away from that as we speak. Yeah, feeling good, Obi.
Yeah, man, I'm looking at Apple as well. It was an interesting trade a couple days ago where I think prior all-time highs were at 230, 237, 27, and it only goes up to 237.49. So pretty much a lick grab of all-time highs, and then a strong fade all day. And lo and behold, come in the next day, the continuation off of an all-time high lick grab. Yep. Kind of you failure to follow through, whatever you want to call it, however you want to call it. But interestingly enough, bidding right back up on those increased sales in China for the new iPhone. I was talking to Sharif about this earlier. Right when I got in, I was like, it just seems like it was just like This whole iPhone sales thing has been, sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe not so good. So, it's just consolidating in that news chop, and the chart just looks perfectly fine, I think. I think we're just kind of, chip chopping underneath those all-time highs, kind of winding up. If you look at a higher time frame here, just looking at a 3-hour chart here, look at how beautiful that looks. That's the August low right there. Pretty much a flag, higher lows into what Sharif would like to call a flat top break, which also confluences with all-time highs. So it should be interesting if and when we do break this with some significant volume. That 250, I think, is definitely on the horizon. Maybe a next level to look at it, but who knows? This 237.5 is what I'll be watching for today.
Uh-oh.
We mentioned Bright Minds a couple days ago, out with this right now, already pretty active here and up significantly, 35%. 35 million on a non-brokered private placement coming through for Bright Minds, which is Drug. Remember our friends over at Firefly teaming up with Drug, going back to, I guess it was 2 days ago. We were talking about that on Wednesday. So a nice pop for AIFF as well, Firefly Neurosciences on that note, again, teaming up with Bright Minds on a deal. So Bright Minds securing 35 million in non-brokered private placement. On the complete other end of the spectrum, these companies are not associated with each other, but so there's Drug, which has news this morning, and then there's Sober, which also has positive news this morning. So take your pick.
Which one do you trade first, though? You take the Drug and then you
and then take Sober,
or relapse and fall in there. I'm sorry.
It's going to go back and forth today, I think.
Brendo, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Look, Drug looks good here to me anyway at 22.5. Have a look at the technicals here, Andre, if we can. We keep finding support at 22.5. We found support yesterday in and around that area. That was basically the base yesterday, and this morning we're bouncing off it again. Obviously, we're knocking the door of 30. Good look for them. It's certainly going to be on my watch today on the How to Trade Midday Show, and there's already others. Brendo, VTAK, another triple-digit mover, already up 165%. This bad boy over here, let me just check the float on this one, because usually these are sub 10 million. Yeah, this one's about 7 million share float. Definitely on watch.
This, if I remember correctly, this Sober Safe is, they make those devices for cars, like you blow for blood alcohol levels, and I think, don't quote me on that, but I think that's what they do. But
right.
Yeah, nice move here, guys. Up to $20 already for Sober.
Look, it's flying around. You got good volume on it. In the really, really long run for Sober, and I'm pretty sure like the last time this came around, I probably said exactly the same thing. I don't know what the end game is here for Sober, because like we're at a moment now where everything is talking about the next big thing is automated driving, right? So it's a fantastic product, and it's absolutely going to save a bunch of lives if it hasn't already done so. And it's certainly important. And we're not going anywhere. Like actual drivers behind the wheel isn't going anywhere in the short term. Long term, I have lots of questions as to how this works in the long run. Is a viable product when I envision when I'm an old man, no one's going to be driving cars. But we'll get there eventually. So Sober, in terms of levels on the daily, you're not going to see anything out there. I think for this one, you've just got to try to play it by ear. A lot of times, we talk about an earnings gap in support. This isn't the same thing, but you can see what happened when it kind of checked back in the aftermarket into 14, and then you had a nice little trend breakout when it held that 14 level. So I think you've got some support down here, 14, 15, to work off of on Sober. And then when it comes to Drug, obviously that one already did some ridiculous moves. It looks big here, but trust me, it's absolutely nothing compared to what Drug did a few days ago. But this was no volume yesterday, holding that support that Sharif talked about. If it gets to 35, all you know what can break loose. I do not like chasing these types of moves where it's a multiple halt potential trade. I think your best bet a lot of times, and I'm going to pull up the chart of news to maybe give you an idea of what I'd be looking for. Just looking at news yesterday, the best chances to get into news was when it was giving these, like look at the consolidation off VWAP early off the open. So there's your consolidation, or maybe like an early break. When you get those types of trades, or finds a dip level after halts, gives a consolidation and confirms that level, then you play a higher low here, and then you can give to this stop. Like, that's the kind of trade that you can work yourself into, I think, on these lower float runners. So you need those to set up. So something like that can actually happen on a drug, as opposed to, let's just grip it and rip it and pray that it's going to work out. I think you got to try those types of trades and let those set up after the open. Because if you just chase every single breakout move, the one time you get rinsed, it's going to basically you're not going to be able to withhold unless you have like so many massive winners in there. I just think you want to get those consolidation entry points when you can find them. Usually comes after some dip buys or once we level off after the open.
Yeah, I think the fact that we had that low volume day today, and then there's a bit of a re-up here on the drug, back into the, Neil pointed out, 35 right here, very interesting level, kind of distinctly kind of pointed out by the price action itself. And those are the best levels, in my opinion, where the price action kind of shows you over and over again that there might be something there. And look at that 35, even on that on the night where it did squeeze up to 59 in the after hours. Look at the base on top of 35, and we come right back below. Knock, 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 and it's been knocking on the door on drug. And I didn't see sober here until you kind of pointed it out here. This one can't really walk in a straight line. It would seem like a little bit of a wavy action here, looking a little tipsy with that consolidation.
Wow.
But nice little chop zone. This 1375 level looks interesting, as you know, we've held it on the initial pullback off of that initial move right there. Holds it once again. Look at that bid kind of coming in every time we get in and around that 14 level. But something to note is that we're making lower highs in the pre-market right now. It is doing some significant relative volume, but that's only because it barely does any volume here. It's recently split on October the 2nd. And average volume almost 700K, doing about a 1 million as of yesterday here. Market cap just shy of 19 million. So it could be interesting. 2 million share float on this sober. Some of these small caps, man. I realized whenever you get like 1,000 to 3,000% runner, everyone's looking for that next drug to hop onto. And it seems like some of these small caps are definitely running due to that.
Well played, well played. I love the pun game over there. But you're right about that, because there were so many, especially yesterday, there was news, and then there was that the one that began with M that I already forget the name of. But, and you have to be careful, because when you have them grouped like this, when you have a crazy runner like an HKD and then a couple that follow, usually day 2, day 3 into a run where there's that many big ones, like they don't last as long. Like the ones that follow later tend not to have as big of a move or last in terms of like 2 or 3 day breakouts. Like that NUZ news, whatever, I'm just gonna call it news. Like this is already given up more than half of the move. And no volume again here today. Like if you were trying to play this one late for a day 2 play, like you're already in a rinse zone from anywhere reasonably that you might have bought that. So you have to be really careful with these. After you've had several names do 300, 400, 500, 1,000% this week, just be very, very careful. Take the wins where you can, but I don't think many of these are very good things that you want to hold overnight or just wait around for it to be a day 2 or 3 day runner. Too many of them have gone, and I feel like it's just a lot of the sympathy plays where everyone's trying to catch these crazy moves. Great if you get it on the way up or you can find a level. I'll probably be looking at news at the $1 level today, just in case it does do a little bit of a tap. But make sure you have yourself an out anytime you get into these. You never want to trade them without a stop, I'll tell you that. Back to the desk.
Apple here moving around this morning as well. 236.50, up almost 2%. For Apple, it's been a little bit of a laggard the past couple of days anyways compared to some of the semiconductor names. New iPhone 16 series shipments in China up 20%. But wait, Sharif, I thought they were doing bad.
Well, Ming-Chi Kuo had different opinions, Brendo, and I guess he was wrong on this one. So let's talk about how they did 20%, as Brendo mentioned. That's specifically for the 16. That's the base model. Now let's talk about the Pro and the Pro Max. 44% increase year over year sales in China. but there was still a 2% decline overall. Well, how does that work? Because we're factoring in other iPhone models as well. If you look strictly at the 16, it's either a 20% bump for the entire group or 44% bump for the more expensive models.
You and I were just saying you knew it was coming. It was just a matter of time and when Apple was going to get back to highs, guys. Here we go, trying to get back above 236.50 right now.
These all-time high breaks, and yesterday NVIDIA made a new all-time high as well. It broke the 140 on the way to it. And one thing I've adjusted, that I'm going to adjust here on Apple if it breaks the 237.5, is not crossing as aggressively with my stop limit order, because I found I got a better price when I didn't cross it like 25, 30 cents on NVIDIA. I just crossed 11 cents. I got 3s. And the other day when I crossed 25, I got 16s when other people were getting good prices. So when Apple, we know we already showed you a little bit earlier, 237.5. That's it. You know, this is almost certainly going to test today. I can't imagine a scenario where on a positive news story, it doesn't make a run into this level. Whether it works or not, the breakout trade's a breakout trade. You take NVIDIA yesterday, breakouts work, but dip buys work. You take Apple today, as long as you have a plan of action, I think you're fine. I'm going with tight stops on all these all-time high breaks because they've essentially been giving you, like when 140 broke on NVIDIA, it got to like 80, and the first push went to 50. So there's nothing wrong with that kind of a gain. Like if it goes to 238, fine, you're going to win on that trade, but that means I'm going to have a tight stop. And if it fails that breakout, understand that when it failed it last time, it dropped $4. And when NVIDIA failed eventually 140, it dropped $4. So you don't want to get wrapped up in this notion that, that it's just going to break out. I'm going to see 238, then 239, then 240. That happens, great. I'm going to hold a piece of it for the prize. I do have a look at one, if not two, dip buy levels. Obviously, 233 was the over-under price yesterday. We essentially spent the entire day under it, unfortunately, on Apple. And you do have this previous resistance here at 234. So my note this morning, I was like 237.5 break, and then 234. If it loses that break, I think the next big support, outside of the obvious, it's a Friday 235, is at 234. It is Friday. It is options expiration. You tend to get a little bit more shenanigans off of the open. In a perfect world, I'd rather it dip first and break later, but I'm going to take the break regardless. But I do like it more if it dips into like 35 and then breaks it, after that first 5 minutes of the session. Usually then I'm inclined to give it a little bit more room.
Yes, Neil, I definitely will be watching Apple for that all-time high breakout. We mentioned this a little bit earlier. Higher lows into that flat top all-time high confluence right at that 237 mark. 237.49 is the all-time high from this past Tuesday. So not only is it all-time high, it's a weekly high as well, monthly high. And interesting action. When we did get there on Tuesday, we did have some aggressive selling not only into the close, but that selling followed along once again, coming off of the open on Wednesday and off of similar prices once again on Thursday, with the market kind of gapping up a little bit as well. And now we are doing more of, I guess, a little different. I was going to say more of the same, but we did kind of gap up above these prices here, 234s, pushing right up into that 237. Something interesting to note here in the pre-market, we've pretty much clipped this 237 multiple times, about 4 times, and you can see the wicks. There's definitely something there, a little bit of selling coming in every time we did get up to that 237, trading at 236.45 right now, just about a point away from those all-time highs. So coming off of the open, definitely going to be one on watch. And as you can see, Apple is doing some relative volume as well. You can see it in the corner right here. I have a 5-period relative volume indicator. We're doing about over 2 to 3 times the relative volume coming into the open. Now, again, this is a large cap, one of the largest in the Mag 7, and something like that doing over 2 to 3 times the R-vol is definitely worth taking a look at, in my opinion. Definitely going to be on watch today. Apple all-time highs.
All right, some strength in Chinese ADRs this morning. I mean, it's mostly EVs, to be honest with you. These ones are stronger than the rest. 7.2% right now for XPeng. Just took out the highs there. Had a day high alert go off. Here's a couple of reasons why. Retail sales and industrial production data both better than expected. So this is a ping pong looking chart. Back and forth we go here for some of these.
Yeah, and I was asking Chris Brecher what he thought about the China trade, and he was like, look, it looks like the best part is behind it. He talked a little bit about Baidu. Let's talk about how they did. Retail sales increased 3.2% year over year, exceeding analyst expectations there. As Brendo mentioned, industrial production continues to do a little bit better, 5.4% year-over-year increase. But this is what caught my attention. Urban unemployment dropped markedly to 5.1%. It was at 5.7% there. We all know a good economy requires good jobs. So
we're just about to, not there yet, but just about to take out the highs here from 2 days ago on Alibaba as well. 103.50, going to be a line in the sand here potentially for Baba.
A host of names that you can look at today. Obviously, you got to pick your poison. Xpeng 7% to the upside, held on to 10 like an absolute champion. You're going to see it had a previous support right at $11 that it's sitting at as we speak. So that's an obvious level. Alibaba, as you just mentioned, that's the one that made my list today because it usually does. But I also liked, we're still on Xpeng there. I don't know, but we also like the resistance that's sitting here at 104. Multiple day resistance. You bounced off $100 yesterday. You break 104. There's room to 106. It's essentially like a $2 gap in there. There was a prior support at 106. So if we get through that, I'm just going to be looking long on Alibaba. And the other thing that I don't mind here on Baba is if it does the other, hey, let's go rug pulling on the Chinese ADRs. Alibaba has this range bottom when 104 was resistance, 102 was support. So it allows me to look in both directions for the long, whether it wants to break out or go into the dip buy. I mean, it just sat there in a range around these prices for a couple of days. So you go down, we play the range and wait for the range bottom. We break it out. I think you have another couple bucks into the upside, into that 106 for Baba.
Yeah, no. When it comes to the I guess the China move here, I'm looking at some of these ETFs. I like Yin as well as FXI. So again, Yin and Yang are the 3 times leveraged ETFs here for that kind of reflect the Hang Seng, right? So HSI is the futures for that. And if you want to look at some of this price action without those funky gaps, then I would definitely suggest looking at the Hang Seng and see what that has been doing. Right here, you can see that we did kind of break down off of this consolidation a couple of days ago. We're coming right back into that with this gap up that we're getting here on the equivalent traded equities here on the U.S. markets. 21,000 we're just shy of right here. That's where that selling kind of came in aggressively during the open session in the Hang Seng. So FXI I'll be watching as well with reference to some of these levels. You can see that same kind of consolidation coming in here with lows at 32 and highs just underneath that 34 mark. So I'm curious to know whether or not if we can get some strength to push us back into into this range here. I was just talking to Neil. I really like the reversions on some of this price action. Yin as well. You can see that sure it's nothing too crazy. But when some of these trends, short-term intraday trends do break, I think it can definitely provide for some opportunity for some scalps. But again, nothing too crazy here. Going to have eyes on for sure. It is doing some relative volume coming into the open today.
Go.
Okay, sorry about that. We have Netflix here up about 6.5% after its earnings and getting this Pivotal Research Group upgrade here with a $925 price target. So almost $200 upside from where we're trading right now. Datadog, this one's been on quite the tear recently. Currently getting this upgrade from UBS with a $150 price target. Albertson being upgraded by HSBC Securities and Ecolab with the Jefferies upgrade. On the downgrade side, T-Mobile getting a downgrade from Scotiabank with a price target increase. And it's worth keeping an eye on this name as well because T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon all slated to report next week. We have Zeta getting a downgrade from Barclays, Q2 with a Citigroup downgrade, and last but not least, Old Dominion with a downgrade from BMO Capital Markets. Quite a few interesting names here, especially on the upgrade side, guys.
Yeah, well, obviously we'll talk about Netflix. It's unavoidable. It's the big earnings name, but Datadog does bear some watching. The concern with them is, yeah, let's just slap an upgrade when this has had a little top-heavy resistance for a while. It's in a nice upward trend, like pretty much everything else is, but you get into this 135 level. That's been clear resistance the entirety of the year. And it could break today. There's no volume on it. That's the problem. Like if this was another stock, like I'd grant you this break here into the 135, that'd be a play. But with a stock like Datadog, if you're going to trade it, usually you want a lot of confirmation. It's not going to do a lot of volume in here. You need some confirmation at the open that it's holding above that 131 and a third. It is a good-looking chart, and it's the kind of move that you'd rather be a joiner as it tries to continue. It's just a shame that there's not a lot of volume on this, because I think there is some clear room. You know where you're going to if you make the breakout, which is the 135 level. Just a matter of like eking through. I love the fact that you had a clear level here, consolidation, you dipped, made a higher low, held that 200 period. That's always a good sign into this breakout. It's just a shame there's not enough volume into it. Now, you're going to have Apple breaking out, and you're going to have Netflix, which we'll talk about, potentially breaking out. There's just so much. You can't really take every single breakout. You got to prioritize the ones that are going to be liquid, that are on stocks that you know what your risk parameters will be, that you trade more on a regular basis. But there's nothing wrong with this look here on Datadog. Up 3%, like it's stronger, relative to the market. You just got to pick the ones with volume as a day trader.
Yeah, no, definitely agree with that one. There's a lot of other names that are definitely, I guess, would be a much nicer vehicle to play that kind of strategy. But yeah, no, if that volume comes in off of the opening session, then yeah, for sure, it could definitely be something. Bit of a double top action there, just at that 131 on Datadog, and pretty much near these prior highs from the beginning of the year highs sitting at 138 halves. So I don't know if Datadog's going to do 8 points today off of the open, but I don't know. Anything can happen. I'm just going to be looking at these local highs to push back up into some of these prior highs here as well. 134, 133 on Datadog. But no, Neil is definitely right. There's Apple is doing a lot of volume in the pre-market, pushing for its all-time high. So I think eyes are definitely going to be on that a little bit more. But we'll see if any of that can give us some tailwind here on Datadog alongside the other names.
All right, 9 o'clock. Let's get into everything else we need to know here. Long list of stocks moving around here. We'll start with the overall market.
58.86, guys. That's where we closed out yesterday on the ES December contract. We're still rejecting 5,900. We've been over it multiple times, and we've gotten up to 59.25, but we keep closing below 5,900. However, the other side of that coin is we're still putting in those higher lows. So we feel it's a matter of time. So let's see, number one, can we actually defend 5,900 this time? If we do, we're still looking at that 25-point level as resistance. If we give up 5,900, Brendo, we're looking at 58.75 as support.
If you haven't done so yet, I have a free resource for you. Go down to the description of this video. There is a link to the watch list. All you need is your email address, and then it just shows up every single day. It has everything you need to know every morning in the pre-market. Looks like that. All the stocks moving around, any associated news with them included. 6.5% right now for Netflix. To the upside we go. I was just counting up some of these analyst moves this morning. There's probably 10 or more, all positive, all basically raising their price target. The highest one I see right now, $9.25 on the price target here for Netflix.
That's a nice premium, about $200 from where it's trading right now. Guys, all right, here, we mentioned this at the top. I'll mention it again. 35% increase year over year in their ad tier. And in fact, half of the new memberships that they added this past quarter were from the ad tier. The reason that matters is because they generate more money from those. The more you watch on the ad tier, the more they generate. They're also forecasting, Brendo, 14.7% revenue increase for the fourth quarter as compared to last year. Yeah,
we showed that chart early on this morning. Just a slow and steady march to the upside for growth on this company, which is great, guys.
Super impressive for Netflix. The only blemish is that where's my stock split? Where's my stock split, Netflix? You gave everything you wanted with that exception. Now, ultimately, too, the move, we're up 7%, just under 7%. That was the expected move. So you're not you're not more than the expected move to the upside here. And it's Friday and you're underneath 735. That could be a bit of a trouble. You have 736 is that all-time high right in here. So remember, this is one because it's a $700 stock. Like, I'll take the Apple break, because if it's a fail break, it's not going to be, if Apple fails a break of its all-time high, you take a 137.50. It's not going to be that much trouble unless you just don't get out on the way back and it doesn't hold support. With Netflix, if it decides to fail that break, it could be fast and it could be furious, and you could be $5 out like very, very quickly on Netflix. So I won't be taking this break. I think it needs to show buyers above 735. You need to really prove it on a Friday after a gap up like this that's lower than expectations for fall through. I'd almost prefer if it was gapping above the all-time high, and then you could be concerned with whether it would hold it on a dip, and then try to hold a 735 level in the other direction. So I'm staying away from the Netflix breakout just because if I want to see confirmation above that all-time high and that the 735 is going to hold on a Friday, because I think the risk here is too big to take the breakout trade in itself. So I'd rather join it if we have to. As I said, Apple, the order's already in to take its all-time high break, and we'll get to that in a second. But it's hands off the Netflix all-time high break for me.
Yeah, Neil, I'm just I got drug on the side here, feeling a little tingly watching this this drug action here. Price action is very, very interesting. That 35 break we were talking about in the pre-market absolutely blasts up to 39. Anyways, interesting tape indeed. But Netflix, yeah, great earnings, but take a look at this, even greater price action from these lows in 2022. V-shaped recovery. Look at that. You take the elevator down, and then you take the stairs all the way right back up to these all-time highs. There's 736 I have here on a weekly chart. If you take a look at the hourly, let's see if that kind of changes up. Right here, 735.98 is this weekly high here, or monthly high, I think, right here. Yeah, so the high from last Friday. So strong action there coming off of the earnings. Let's see if we can get that push through those all-time highs today. Taking a look at a shorter time frame chart. This is a 15-minute. You can see after the earnings reaction, we got a hold of this 710, and we've just been slowly kind of melting up into this open here. So I'll definitely be watching some Netflix today for some price action. Let's see if we can get to the next $10 level here, 740, 750. Interesting as well. A little bit of a quarter when you look at the thousands right there. So it could be interesting. But yeah, going to watch this a little bit, doing 20 times relative volume here off of a pretty good earnings report that we got overnight on Netflix. I think that's something to watch out as well. Is that reference high, 27, just shy of that 725 right there, sitting right there, and then you can see that initial pullback in the morning kind of holds that, and we're trickling a little bit above that price going into the open. So Netflix definitely on watch. May or may not trade it. It is pretty spready there, but I'm going to be looking for those moves. Market is super strong as well, so maybe some tailwind we get.
All right, let's talk Apple. Back to highs here as well. We're testing that high from 2 days ago right now on Apple, 4.5%. I don't know what that was, but we'll carry on. 20% sales surge in China for the iPhone 16. That was unexpected, but here we are. So nice pop anyways to start the day here.
Yeah, they've got competition now from Huawei, who's been able to make 5G chips. Obviously, they haven't been competing with Apple for the last few years because they haven't been able to get their hands on 5G chips. Let's talk about which models did better. It's Friday. 20% surge for iPhone 16 sales year over year. The Pro and the Pro Max did a lot better. Those are more expensive models. 44% increase year over year as compared to the 15 Pro.
Coffee. Stat.
Yeah, so I don't know why I got a chuckle out of that one. So whether it's Netflix or wetter Apple sales, then it doesn't really matter. We got it all for you here at Trader TV Live. I'll do my best to try to knock some kind of word pun out of the park later on. But look, Apple, we're going to take the breakout of the all-time high. So 237.5 is the all-time high. It actually tagged 237.49 the other day. So it's about as clean to the level as you're going to get. There's resistance as we speak at 237 even right in here. It's a wick basis, so clearly like the even dollar could have a little bit of a, you could always do a pop and fade at the 237, and then I'd be looking for the dip buy. Now, if we don't break out that high, I'm just sort of zooming, oh, there you go. I'm just sort of zooming out so you can see. When we lost that top before, first bounce 234.5, and then that turned into resistance. Yesterday's high 234.5. So that's the target area if we don't get the breakout and we go dip buy hunting. It's wait for it to get down into that price. Has to be at least, if it's not going to hold VWAP and then regain the breakout, got to wait for 235, wait for the 234. Yesterday was up on Apple going long, but the only reason for that was waiting for it to get down into the level. And that's sort of the key. Like, I knew I liked 230 for a support level, but you gotta let it get there. When it fails to break at the open and starts running short, you don't necessarily want to be catching the falling knife. Like, if it gets in close to that level, got to the $0.50, like, okay, now we're close enough, you see the bids start to come in, then you can grab that trade and then play it back into VWAP and then some resistance. So if we go dip buy hunting, it's that level of patience. A breakout's a breakout. It's easy. You set it and forget it. Get in, throw your stop, take your profit if it goes up. You know, stop out if it can't hold on to some prior highs. But when it comes to the dip buy, you want to be a little bit more nuanced with it. And patience is a virtue, especially on a Friday. You know, we say this all the time, but there's a lot of nasty and weird price action that's going to happen, especially on the third Friday of each month, which is what we have here. So you don't necessarily need to be first in on a dip buy if the market decides we want to pull back first. I'd rather get the second bounce and be able to hold the trade and be in the trade than get that perfect dip buy. Because to get the perfect one, oftentimes you have to be buying at every level, which is not my cup of tea on the way to the downside. But the breakout's I still think we're going to get the breakout. I can't imagine a world in which Apple is not breaking this high today, just given the fact that it's on strength. We've already tested it once, higher lows, as you said, Obi. I feel like we're going to get the breakout.
Yeah, I think we're definitely winding up for the break. It's looking like we definitely can do that. I think something interesting here as well is that 234 area here. You can see that that close area from the day we did clip all-time highs, and then that's kind of the area where we have been getting some selling. We get some buying off of it today. So definitely interesting stuff. Doing some relative volume. Again, to reiterate, we are doing above 2.4, 2.5, even some of these bars doing about 2.6 to 2.8, shy of 3 times the relative volume in the pre-market right now. That 237 showing up as a very clean kind of level of resistance in the pre-market, going down even to a 1 minute. You can see it a little cleaner here. Every time we have gotten up to that 237, we've gotten a bit of selling coming in. So the 237 is definitely going to be on watch coming off of the open and opening imbalances as well. But I'm going to ask the same question I do whenever I see a strong bid in the pre-market with some relative volume. The question is, if this bid is real and we do pull back, where will that bid kind of catch again? And I'll potentially be looking for that bid to catch again if it is real. If not, then I'm sure the tape will be distinctly different, and I'll be ready for any sort of outcome there on Apple. But that 237 showing up is I think it's pretty distinct. I'm going to be watching that level for sure on Apple.
Tesla, FSD, a bit of a problem here so far this morning. 2.4 million vehicles going to be investigated after 4 crashes involving FSD. So as we saw in Sharif's explainer video, I guess is a good way to put it. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. It's on our socials. Sharif went and test drove his Model Y with FSD. Yep. And I mean, there was issues like immediately.
Right away.
Yeah.
Right away. It got it wrong. I'll just remind you guys, it was a 4-way intersection, but it was a 1-way stop sign. So everybody else had the right of way. It didn't understand that. It went to accelerate. There was cars coming at 50, 60 kilometers an hour in the opposite direction. Could have got T-boned, had to hit the brake. So misread the situation. That's what it comes down to, Brenda. Yeah. This case is a little bit different here. Now they're talking about low visibility conditions. And why that's specific for Tesla is because Tesla's insisted on using a camera system only. They don't employ LiDAR or radar like some of their competitors do. So that's the focus here of the NHTSA investigation.
I mean, you and I were just saying, I mean, the stock has done basically nothing since the Cybercab event. If you zoom out a little bit, that was the morning after, I guess, the Cybercab event was revealed, or the actual car was revealed. 215, 214 was the low right out of the gate a couple of times. We haven't been down there since. Trying to get back above 220 here, but it's been fairly quiet here since then, guys.
Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum there for Tesla. That's something that I think they'll probably figure out. Let's be real for a quick second. But obviously this week, it's pretty clear where we are with Tesla in the last week. And then throwing in, let's include Friday after the event. You have, anytime you get past at 220, once you're at 222, and then we haven't even been getting up to the 23, 24 range. It's just been resistance. You're getting higher level support instead of 214, 215. At least now it's holding 217, 218, but it is a very inside week for Tesla. I get the feeling on bad news, if it gets up into the top end of that range, I'm looking fade. I've been saying all week it needs to take out 225 for me to believe in a break in the fill back into this gap. That'll be out of the penalty box a little bit here. That's what I want to see happen on Tesla as a shareholder. But ultimately, next week we're going to get their earnings, and I can see it just hugging this range until we do, underneath the 50-period moving average. So I want to look short pops on Tesla. I don't know if we see 225. Might have to get into like the prior highs from the last 2 days, which is the 22 to 23 range. But you let it set up. The last couple of days, there have been shorts right off of the open at those levels. Today, we're kind of opening down at the 220 level. So you're going to have to let it get into those mid-220s, like 222, 223 range at least, before I would try to put a short on. Like, try to catch the other end of the trade, maybe set up a trend reversion. But I am looking short today on Tesla, unless we're breaking out 225, which seems unlikely to me on a Friday.
Yeah, I think Tesla's on watch by a lot right now. Again, consolidating after that leg down that we had. Again, strong relative volume, robotaxi event that happened, I think, last Thursday evening. And then Friday morning, you get that strong little pullback down into this 215s, 213.75 is the low there. We've been pretty much consolidating sideways since then on Tesla. So, well, we're pretty much within a range here. So maybe some I want to say intraday range trading, but this range is showing up over multiples of days here on Tesla, with the highs kind of at that triple twos that keep showing up. And then we're making somewhat of a higher low each time into some of those levels. So interesting stuff nonetheless, but a little bit of a sideways consolidation here. Again, going up to a higher time frame. You can see it a little bit better as we have pulled back down into this kind of run up that we've had since August 5th right there. So a little bit of a double toppy action in and around that 260, 270 as of right now. And even bigger picture, if you want to go into that, you go to a daily chart right here. You can see, oh boy, we are kind of following some of these things. So I'm going to throw, yeah, look, okay, those are a lot of lines there. Some of those intraday stuff, lines showing up as straight lines up, but don't mind those. There was a bigger picture downtrend here from all the way from 2022, and take a look at where we're consolidating, Neil. So we are consolidating. So we gapped down on that robotaxi, and look at where we found that bid. This is the blue line right there. So we're finding a bid on what was some trend resistance, a little bit of a wash. I don't know if it's any significant, but the tight consolidation is a little interesting to me. So let's see if we get a little bit of a push through, back through that 222 area, and a reasonable sustain of above that 222 on Tesla could be a little meaningful. I'll be watching for that. On a bigger picture, on a shorter intraday, maybe a little bit of an opportunity if we can get above some of these local highs here from the past week or so.
All right, let's talk China. If you're with us in the first 30 minutes, we were touching on this very briefly, but we'll revisit once again. If you zoom out a little bit on any of these ADRs, I mean, some of them already have taken this out, but 2 days ago, Alibaba here, 104 was the high. We tested again, or 3 days ago, I should say. We tested again 2 days ago. We're back upside right at that level basically right now. China retail sales, industrial production data, both beating expectations overnight. So back and forth we go, back to the upside today for all. I mean, XPeng's still leading the way on my list here. 7% to the upside this morning.
Yeah, good bounce back after several red days for these Chinese ADRs after that big pop-up we saw last couple of weeks. Retail sales up 3.2%, industrial production 5.4%. The best one here, unemployment rate drops to 5.1, specifically urban unemployment down from 5.7. They're spending $2 trillion, partly on stimulus and partly on debt for some of these municipalities. So we'll have to see how they do.
Yeah, worth keeping an eye on here this morning, guys. Where's the opportunity?
Held again.
There's a few, and I'm focused on Alibaba, but the few people have mentioned, I just saw in the chat there, what about NEO? And I've been asked that a couple of times here in the chat. NEO was gold. I mean, look, XPeng bounced off $10 yesterday. NEO bounced off $5. But it's obvious support on the daily. It's the 50 period and the 200 period that you're bouncing off of as well today. So I think 550 is obvious in terms of what needs to happen for NEO. If I was taking this instead of Alibaba, I'd probably be looking at a 50 break, to be honest with you, with the pre-market low as my out. But it's Alibaba that I like. So, that's the one. It's very likely that we're going to see a 104 break. At this point, you're at 103.5. I still think, this one has room to fill in the gap to 106, but 106 was a pretty decent level in its own right. Let me just go to the daily chart so we can see a little bit better. Yeah, 106 was a pretty decent support level in its own right. Like, this was where we dipped initially on this big stimulus run, and then we held it when you made the fresh high. That was where it tried to hold again at the 106. I feel like the 104 break gets you, to 106 would be the out, wanting to take profit into it. And if we do go dip buy hunting, which seems a little bit less likely at this point, it was 102 that I certainly thought we could get into. So either we're breaking the 104 level or the 102. There's a limit to how many breakouts you can want, right? So I feel like this could happen quick. I feel like Apple could happen quick. That's why very tight stops and have an area that I want to look for some dip buys. Oh, and just because Obi mentioned it, that drug, there's a drug in Canada.
Yeah, the Canadian drug might be better, but
No, it's hilarious. I didn't realize there's also DRUG. Bright Minds is dual listed.
Is it actually dual listed?
No, it is dual listed. It's listed in Canada as well. So I just hit drug and then enter, and the first thing that came up on our platform was actually the Toronto listing. No, but drug just did pull back into that 35 level. So the breakout 35 is held. Just be careful, lower high alert on drug. It just failed a 38 break. So it's holding the 35. I still, obviously 22, mid-20s, maybe VWAP or some levels to work back if it is ultimately failing. But the breakout kind of has already happened on drug through 35, and it did go to 40 already.
Yeah, so I'm just realizing that that dual listing could be interesting. I want to watch drug in Toronto.
Free shorts.
might be a little bit better. And yeah, we get free shorts, or
yeah,
is that what you're saying in
yes.
Toronto? Yeah, exactly. So it could be interesting there. Again, Canadian drug might be a little bit better in my opinion, but we shall see about that after the open. But going back to the Chinese names here again, we talk about FXI and yin. That's what I will be having eyes on going forward today. Right here, coming back into some of this prior consolidation ranges here as well, right? That's what I was talking about. Again, shout out to Wayne for pointing this out. If you're going to be watching these names, you are definitely going to want to watch Hang Seng, which is the Hang Seng Index Futures. Again, giving you more of that price action without that gappy. Again, I was like, oh, what is this chart? There's so many gaps. There's definitely missing information in between those gaps. And you look at, you can refer to the Hang Seng to kind of fill in, literally to fill in those gaps of information there in terms of price action. So gonna stay watching this one as well if we're gonna be trading any of those China names for sure. Just like we watch ES in the NQ when we're trading US equities. I think it makes sense to be watching Hang Seng futures well if you're going to be trading any equities that are related to the Chinese markets.
All right, let's talk crypto to wrap things up. It's been an interesting week for not only Bitcoin, but some of these related stocks. If you just have a look at Coinbase again, zoom out a little bit, massively higher on the week. We're up 2.3% here. Yesterday was back and forth with the price of BTC after the big update of the prior. Nothing significant here as far as news related to this today, but showing strength here already this morning.
Huge amount of inflows, Brendo. Specifically, if you want to have a cutoff date, the 14th of October. Let's talk about how Bitcoin has done since then. $1.9 billion of net inflows into these spot ETFs. They've now surpassed $20 billion of assets under, or of money in for these spot ETFs since its inception, which is actually a lot faster than these gold ETFs got to that same mark. Global Bitcoin ETPs, exchange traded products, also saw record-breaking net inflows, Brendo, in the past week. So good luck for crypto.
Yeah, bouncing right now off that 208.50 area is Coinbase. I mean, IBIT as well. I just saw pop up once again, trying to get back to the upside. So lots to consider here as far as crypto is concerned today.
Okay, true.
So like Bitcoin has this descending, what we call descending trend line on the daily that I think a lot of us have been observing. It's an obvious one. Whether or not we're actually going to break this today, I think you break levels like this over the weekend, much more likely. Right now, it would have to get above like 60. It's like 68.7 or something like that exactly. And then 69, I think you hold above that and then break out. That's going to be a big sign. So on the daily chart, I think that's what you need to see for continuation, but it's been pulling back off this pretty much every single time. Now, Mara has been trending up while this has been going on, and Mara is set for it. It's like 18.5 is this break in here, and then you've got 19 even as resistance. So I can see Mara going into a we haven't been running catch-up trade. And then if we fail that high, that Bitcoin high, look for a mean reversion. So I actually, like, Mara looks like a breakout today. The problem about putting the order in right now is, well, I'm taking a breakout on Alibaba and Apple are already set. I'm not, 3 breakouts at the open. No, the limit for me is going to be 2. I never want to be punching long on breakouts on more than just a couple of things, if anything. But if we do break that 18.5, and there's still an opportunity, but later on to join a trend, I'd look trend up, and then if Bitcoin does fail that resistance, you wait for a mean reversion style trade on Mara if it's going parabolic. I usually believe if you're failing that high, then Mara, you can catch a little bit of a sell. It just feels relatively strong today. So I'd be taking that breakout if I wasn't already set to go in both Alibaba and Apple.
No, I like those ideas. We were just chatting about that relative strength and weakness in some of those miners and other tickers with reference to what Bitcoin has been doing. This is a weekly chart on Bitcoin. And yes, Neil, I have that trend line drawn in as well, a little bit of trend resistance here, maybe a little bit of a larger, bigger frame flag kind of forming, whatever you want to call it. We're holding consolidation above this 55 level here on Bitcoin, just churning these prior highs, right? That prior high just shy of that 70,000. I think it was 69 to 69. All zeros were the highs there, 69,000, and we're kind of chopping that area as of right now. So the breakout, if and when it does come, should be interesting. Is it going to be today? I have no idea, but this consolidation on the weekly is definitely interesting. Taking a look at, again, when I take a look at Bitcoin, I like to look at the higher time frames because it does trade 24 hours. I don't think there's too much to see on like a shorter time frame there in terms of significant levels. Yeah, no, this trend resistance has been showing up, and we are trading right up into it, just shy of that 70,000. So if we get that distinct push through confluence with some significant volume and it sustains those levels, I think it could be an interesting look here on Bitcoin.
There we go. Sure. So a couple of things that we didn't necessarily get to. I know we're going to go to Sharif in just a quick little second. A couple of things that we didn't necessarily get to with imbalances actually coming out there. Early look on the imbalances. I just saw Tesla make a move to the downside. You've got sell on NVIDIA, 2 million, 1.7 million sell on Apple, 970,000 sell on Amazon, Broadcom, 700,000, Microsoft, 700,000 sell, Intel, 600,000 sell, Google, 600,000 sell, Cisco. So it is all sell side. Remember, it is the third Friday. So you're getting some sell action as the market's at highs here, the biggest one being NVIDIA. At this point, yeah, I said we'll probably get that breakout on Apple. With that sell imbalance, now we're going into the dip. Remember that 234 is going to come into play here. Prior highs certainly looking like it's more likely to come into play. Let's go to Sharif because we got to figure out what the lesson of the day is here for you guys.
We're talking about breakaway gaps, Neil, today on the How to Trade Midday show. If you're into that kind of thing, we introduce a topic on Wednesday. Catch that with Joy and I today on How to Trade at 11.
Thank you very much there, Sharif. And as I said, with those sell imbalances, Apple just dropped $1.50. You just pulled back into 138 here on NVIDIA. It had support down in the 135 range. Obviously, I actually like NVIDIA for a 140. I thought it was a 140 fade, the fail break at the all-time high, and then the lower high at the 140. So I was looking for a pop and fade on NVIDIA, at least initially, and then we could worry about the dip buy. But the dip is likely coming first here, Obi. If you like the dip on NVIDIA, it's been a good one if you can find the right levels. I think obviously, and pretty much everyone's going to be looking at the 136.5 zone. You're talking about Wednesday highs and then yesterday's support in that range. If you lose that, 135 on a Friday is going to be an obvious one. But you've got to be patient. It's not about catching falling knives. It's about trying to join an upward trend if you can. Ideally, that's going to be the way to go, is try to make sure that you're not just getting in there like, oh, I like the long, so I'm just going to get every single price in there. Not a great look, at least early on with those imbalances. But remember, we do expect to see larger imbalances and those types of moves on a Friday. So you want to be able to weather the storm. It's entirely possible in the first like 30 seconds to a minute, might not have any positions and let things settle down a bit and just make sure we are in the right names at the right time. I feel like there was a name that I did not get to. Oh, yeah. So CVS, new CEO, blah, 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 blah. They were down over 10%. I was thinking SSR bounce on this. It's already bounced $5 in trying to fill in the gap. I'm just going to zoom out. So CVS's gap is right back into about the $61 level. So this is one that I did not expect to make this bounce before the open. But if this gets into the 61, I was looking for a reversion trade on CVS. With the market heading into the downside, at least initially, wow, okay, now we just pop back up. Everything must have just paired right back off.
Right.
Yeah, so NVIDIA is now a buy of 900,000. That was a bamboozlement. Apple flipped to a small buy as well. That is what they do on a Friday. Oh, that's so hilarious.
If the bid is real, Neil.
The bid is real.
Where will it catch?
And it's spectacular.
On top of 235, apparently.
Yeah, they didn't even get to 234. You just went to 235.5 on Apple. Looks like they didn't want to give us the fills that we wanted. That just means we're back into the breakout mode, though. So Apple at 237.5, we're right back there. So the bamboozlement of the sell imbalances, all gone. They're all buys, at least in the short term here, Obi.
October.
Oh, yeah.
I like that. That's a cool
okay,
item.
that'll work.
Right,
that'll work.
We're getting into the season. We're getting into the Halloween spirit. Do you have any ideas of what without giving it away?
Well, so here's the thing. I actually already we have a family costume. We always just, my family, we do like a team thing. We do a theme. Yeah. But we don't have anything official that we're doing here on the show. So I don't know if I'm just going to, I just don't know if I'm going to actually just wear what I'm wearing at home that day and then wear it here, or if we're going to plan something else. We actually haven't ironed out the plan of action.
All right.
But we dress up on the actual day of Halloween.
So that's the Thursday.
Is it a Thursday? Okay, good.
Yeah, I think this year is a Thursday. Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Interesting. Only got about 20 seconds left.
Tesla actually went green on that move as well. It wasn't just NVIDIA and Apple. Tesla went green. It's through 221. This might see that 225 after all. But the first place we'll be looking is that all-time high break on Apple. Did not quite get there. ADR is about to ring the bell for the final time this week in 3, 2, and 1. Ring it. Ooh, nice little muted. No break at all. Wow, right back into 235 on Apple quickly. Right back into that 235 level. So Apple is going to be challenging the bid. If we lose 235, I'm just going to cancel the breakout trade. There's no need to have that in there. When it's like a full % away from that price, you don't need that. We'll have to look for it to make some kind of a bounce play if we're going to grab it. Alibaba's not going to break 104 anytime soon. Tesla lost the bid. NVIDIA lost the bid. More or less everything is heading back in to the downside as we speak. So we're going to have to be very, very patient here. NVIDIA was 140, would have been the place I was looking for the reversion of the short, and it's not going to get up there, it doesn't seem, Obi.
Yes, sir. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna be as patient as I can today, looking for the best opportunities which align with with my abilities and with my playbook as well. Here goes drug halting to the upside again, 39.43 halt. So that 35 was held well, and it's about to halt right now as the final prints kind of start printing. And there it is. We are halted on drug to the upside right there, as you can see. So let's take a quick look at this chart while it's been halted. So let's do that real quick and kind of talk about this. If you guys go back, I don't remember quite when, but I remember doing a lesson on liquidity traps and what those kind of look like on a multi-day time frame, right? So again, this is starting to smell like a classic liquidity trap. It's trying to look like a classic liquidity trap, and guess what, Neil? It probably is definitely a liquidity trap. So again, let's go to the daily chart right here and take a quick look at this. So on the initial day, look at that strong volume, aggressive volume, exactly. A strong volume coming in. This ticker, again, doesn't really trade too much. A little bit of volume coming in, maybe some accumulation, maybe some cornering. Smells like coming into this pop right there, but going up to the 15-minute chart right here, you can see that strong push up and that aggressive squeezing action of a lot of intraday shorts getting squeezed out on the first day here, squeezes all the way to 59 to 60, and then pulls back in. Low volume consolidation, failure to follow through, and then another leg up on a Friday. Could be interesting going forward today. What's going on, Adara?
Great look for Netflix here off the open. NFLX up about $10 from that previous resistance area of 735. Currently struggling a little bit with 746, but well into the 740s right now for NFLX off their earnings. They beat EPS and revenue estimates, and they also announced a 14.4% year-over-year increase in their paid subscribers, a 35% quarter-over-quarter increase in their ad tier subscribers. So great look for Netflix, both in terms of those numbers and in terms of the ticker here. We're actually now into 747s, guys.
Yeah, that
47?
Yeah, 48.65 is the high right now.
Yeah, well, meanwhile, Apple, oh my goodness, I'll go to Netflix in a quick little second because that's ridiculous. No, Apple tried to bounce the first time in front of that 234, went in front of 234.5. I grabbed the retake of 235. It then made a fresh low, so jumped out. Looks like it was a bit of a wick out. It's now holding the 235 a second time, so I am back into it. But obviously, in 100% hindsight, the break on Netflix was pretty clean. So you pick and choose. I liked Apple, and Netflix said, no, wrong, go into Netflix, 8% to the upside. It's absolutely flying now. The only thing I am in is Apple, but I got to get over very quickly to Alibaba. So the Chinese ADRs, well, I mean, at least this one, no breakout, going to cancel the order, don't need to have that in there anymore. The 102 is going to get tested. Almost certainly we're going to test that 102. So I want to make sure we're trying to get it on some actual strength if we're able to get a bounce off of that level and not just pick the level, sit on it, and try to get run over. I want to see it bounce, try to catch it on the way back into the upside. Netflix is absolutely going ham. NVIDIA, which I liked for a short at 140, just keeps on putting lower highs. Every time I think we're breaking 39 to get us up there for the short, it's not going anywhere close. Tesla's fading as well here, Obi, so it doesn't look like it's going to be that much of a long day, unless you're in Netflix or maybe that drug stock, which I guess it's a couple of minutes until that one opens up. Back to Adara.
We do have DraftKings here and watch GKNG. Nice pop up the open, up about 4% right now. This one of 20 stocks here on Goldman Sachs. Top short squeeze opportunities for the Q3 earnings season. Other stocks to watch on this list include Dollar Tree, DLTR, Moderna, mRNA, CrowdStrike, CRWD, as well as Chewy, CHWY. So DraftKings with a short float of, I was seeing 5% according to the Goldman Sachs list on this top short squeeze list. Keep an eye out for this one, guys.
The continuation on DraftKings is impressive.
Oh boy, it was interesting. I was talking to Jose again, who sits beside me back there yesterday about this action on DraftKings. Again, gonna have eyes on drug here as well. It's about to open up. The last halt price was at 931.14, so it should be opening up 935.14. So I guess maybe a little bit longer than a 5-minute halt, but we shall see. When it does open up, you guys will see this book light up and the tape start to print here as well. Closing price was $39.42. But interesting stuff here on DraftKings yesterday. Talk about reversion. Look at this strong candle here on that flush down to the lows. That's what kind of grabbed my attention, and I was like, all right, well, 15-minute prior bar high. There is drug that's open trading at 39, so we can continue watching that while talking about that. Talking about DraftKings here, about some size sitting at that 40, about what was it, 300, 400 lots, something like that. Sitting at 40, kind of pulls back in as soon as it kind of sees that size right there. Still trading at 39. Should be interesting. I'm going to wait for some of this price action to kind of cool off, and you know, it'll probably halt around up and down. But once it cools off, I'm going to look for a failure to follow through one way or the other. As again, bigger picture, I do think that this is we have to pay for locates.
Yes.
I think right now with the way it's kind of moving and pushing for that squeeze, I don't know if I want to be necessarily too short as of right now. There it is right there. 40 gets taken out, instantly taken out, and pulls right back in. So it did take out that size there at the 40. Here is the proof as that size. Look at that. All of those on the 40s right there. 10,000 shares on Edge A's, on Arcas right there. So lit gates, some block boys kind of taking out that size and pulling back significantly on drug there. But no, going back to DraftKings here, take a quick look. Strongest volume bar on that low. It's bigger than, it significantly towers over even the opening and closing prints here of the week. So you can see that this was Tuesday, this is Monday. Friday, sure, you get a really strong close volume bar on Friday, but nothing like this green bid buying volume showing up this current week. And I was just like, all right, well, if this is going to revert, I'm going to look for it to revert not only to VWAP, but maybe back to the open. And by the end of the day, it did end quite strong. And take a look at this continuation following through, stronger volume bar off of the open. What's up, Adara?
Quite a few small caps running today, including DRUG and SOBR. Another entrant into the small cap list here is JTAI, Jet AI. This one has run in the past. It's a penny stock, currently up about 31% with a nice volume push here in today's highs before pulling back a little bit. I'm not seeing any catalyst on this, but it's worth noting it's about 56.5% insider owned. We have a float of 10.7 million shares, which is pretty small for a penny stock. Market cap of $2.38 million and a short float of almost 15%. So decent short float, small market cap for penny stock, JTAI. Also worth noting, NFLX actually claimed 750. So great look here for this market's exciting Friday, guys.
Unbelievable move by Netflix there. So we got to be very, very patient. We were able to get a win there on Apple just now, but the first stop, second stop, even tighter. The third stop, even tighter than that. Take the bounce that it gives you. So I'm letting it make a high, and when it tries to press back through, sorry, I'm letting it make a low, I should say, off of that prior support level, like right in here, then jump in with my stop really, really tight. Want to make sure if it makes that break of the low that I'm just getting out and then not bleeding all the way through. That's how you allow it to take your scalp win, but make sure you have the stop. The first one gave it a little bit of wide of a berth, thinking we could go all the way back into VWAP $1 higher, but been focused on Apple here, able to get it back after the first two hits. So we're flat on Apple now after the third bounce, but we're still trending down. So now, if I'm being patient about it, I got to wait for 233 if there's even going to be a test of that level. NVIDIA's not really giving too much of a setup here. I like the 140 short. You're just in the middle of a range. And then Alibaba, patience is a virtue. 102 just came in, bounced off of it, rejected VWAP. Here comes a double tap test of this 102 level. So if we can hold here, then I'm going to like Alibaba off these levels. But see, it's downward trend and not showing me the bounce. If you just sat in front of it, that would have worked, obviously, but I need confirmation. You're in a downtrend. There is another name we kind of forgot about, and that was going to be Intel. They had news that they were potentially looking at selling a portion of their Altura business, which is their programmable chip business that they bought like 7 years ago. So they're trying to get break even on it. If they do, or sell a portion, it's not a huge story. And once again, Intel has the same sell levels, the 2280. Same thing over and over again on this one. If it can't break out that, I feel like there's going to be an opportunity to sell. The other thing it's going is The crypto names did make a bit of a break. Mara is through that 18.5. I didn't have the breakout set because I thought we'd be looking breaks in other places. But now that it's through, if it can hold a bit at 18.5, I want to join this trend, at least to 19. Because if Bitcoin fails that local high, I think this is going to revert. So I want to see it hold 18.5. If it can do that on this first 15-minute bar, then I want to enter into the long on Mara. So patience, as I said, going to be a virtue. We take a couple of shots in there. Now I'm just looking for a real continuation play on Apple. That looks like a wick bottom at 234. We're starting to see a little bit more strength. But as we get a little bit later on in the morning, I want to make sure that we're getting better entries on the way in here. It was a scalp out of the last long because this market has been trying to bamboozle to the downside off the open.
Yeah, shout out to More Money in the chat talking about OKLO. A lot of these nuclear fission tickers very aggressively strong right off of the open there. 1546 was the low right there. 1549 opening range low, and we're trading at 1735 with some strong volume. And yeah, now I'm just trying to remember some of the other tickers that were moving on this earlier this week.
SMR.
SMR is the one that comes to mind right away. Thank you, Neil. And look at that nice little lick grab of that pre-market low right there, and then aggressive bid right back up on SMR new scale power. Now, if you guys have more tickers in this sector, send them our way and we will kind of take a look at these. But yeah, aggressive strength coming in. Let's see what we have in store for that. Maybe a little bit of a reversion to VWAP right there on this, but nothing ready for me just yet. We're still holding that 35 here on drug, so I'm watching that as well. Apple with a nice little bounce as of right now, pulling back up right there, maybe towards VWAP. So I do have eyes on that. But you're looking at the NASDAQ and the ES right here. We're not really in and around any sort of key levels in terms of the downside, but the upside right here, 20,500 is testing on the NASDAQ. So I'm going to continue watching that to see if that has any sort of pressure, any sort of price action that might seem interesting coming into the day right there. Okay, K-Fry is mentioning a few names there, so let's take a quick look. LEU, I guess Centrus Energy Corp right there. Let's see, this one probably doesn't do, doing zero volume right there, 55,000, so not worth my time right there. IONQ, says Neil. Oh boy, yeah, look at this one right here, expanding volume right off of the open. Okay, I'm gonna put this one on watch right here, because when that bid kind of dissipates, perhaps I do want to be involved on that one there. This is some very aggressive strength with that expanding volume on IONQ. I guess someone else talking about NNE as well. NNE. So this whole sector is running as of right now. Lows, opening range lows here on NNE, sitting right at 1920, trading at 2121. And again, this one a little distinctly different as the volume is not expanding, but it seems like the IONQ is probably the best one there, because we have that strong expanding volume, aggressive coming into this ticker as of right now. So that volume, I guess, volume profile, volume is looking a little different there. 37's now trading on drugs. So we've been able to hold 34 pre-market high and on top of VWAP. That's interesting action nonetheless. 235 still holding on Apple. What's up, Adara?
Schlumberger here, SLB, pushing lower as we have some of these indices trying to push higher. We have their conference call coming on right now. The CEO saying that they don't see any U.S. activity rebound in the near term. So not a great forecast here. It did also mentioning that they expect, quote, muted Q4 sales growth. It just has to do some of their budget exhaustion. So not a great forecast coming from the CEO during their earnings call. SLB had an EPS beat just barely, but they did miss their sales estimates here. So this one on watch, getting a little bit of a volume increase here as of right now to the upside, guys.
SLB, a lot of those are really starting to expand, and you got to be careful for, like, I know we'll be looking at a mean reversion on a couple of those. Just make sure you're looking at one of those nuclear plays that's actually doing volume, because you have your pick of the litter. You don't have to be in every single one of them, or just the one that pops up that you might like. Make sure you're in the one that's doing the good volume. I think it's very, very key on a day like today. So Mara did end up breaking out the local high through 70s. I ended up getting like 71.5, so it'll round up to 72 is what it is. But it just got into the 80 level with a bit of a pullback. I'm going to throw up, and it's an early trend, but it's a steep one that's going to coincide with about 18.6 anyway, so that's where I'm looking dip buy. If you look at what's going on over in IBIT, As this loads up, you're still in the midst of a breakout, but a pullback in a prior high is perfectly reasonable if we are going to continue this move into the upside. Apple just got to VWAP and retrace. So I got the scalp trade before it did this bottoming tail candle. And the re-entry here probably should have been a good one if you could have had it really, really quickly. Still going to be focused on this. It's trend down, right? So you're getting lower highs as we speak. So if 234 is going to hold a support, I need it to show me a higher low or the actual 234 entry. The NVIDIA, I want to short 140 is clearly not a thing today. The NASDAQ's trying to make a fresh high, and NVIDIA can't seem to get through VWAP. So it is relatively weak. Even though it's up 1%, you're just not getting any true action into that high that we can, or at least I can fit. I shouldn't say we. I don't know what anyone else is trying to do at those levels. I want to thank Volcan in the chat here. Netflix still going. I'll hit the like on that one. Appreciate the super chat there, Volcan. And then ALLY, you want me to look at. I'll get to Netflix first. I'll have to come back to that ALLY in a second, Nick M. But wow, Netflix. Netflix is absolutely on a tear. It is a home run. It is a rocket ship. There's no question about it. It just held the $750 level. These are all-time highs here for Netflix. It's a blue sky setup as we speak. So there's pretty much nothing out there except for every $5, I guess, is going to be, in theory, a bit of a resistance. Ali in here, Nick M. I don't know what to attribute the drop to off of the open. What I can tell you is when you usually get this type of price action, a V-shaped recovery that gets you back to where you started and breaks it out is incredibly bullish because you've rinsed a bunch of people off of that open. And then a 36 breakout actually looks pretty solid there on something like an alley. But again, I don't know the story. Let's go to Adara.
I do have the story in LA Financial. It was actually an earnings report. So we did actually, despite the drop, we had a beat across the board here. Adjusted earnings per share, 95 cents versus 53 cents expected. Sales also a beat, 2.058 billion versus estimates of 2.03 billion. So Ali did beat across the board. I'm going to look more into this report here, but that was what explains the action in this ticker, guys. It is an earnings move for Ali Financial.
We're just talking about like what's a good like attributable risk on this Netflix move here. Again, it's a $750 ticker. So my question to Neil was, yeah, maybe you're probably risking like at least 4 to 5 points if you want to responsibly take this trade. Now that's obviously like just arbitrary. I'm sure if you're watching the tape, you're watching some levels. Maybe again, blue sky. Maybe you got to be watching the book or the tape. Maybe you find a place to risk much less on the
That's
trade.
hard
right?
to do.
So it's like, yeah, it's definitely more difficult to do there, but definitely something to have eyes on for sure. So IONQ, I'm watching as well as the bid kind of starts to dissipate. You can see that volume fall off as well. But again, you kind of measure this kind of trade there, maybe a reversion to VWAP. If I were to do that, Neil, then I could be like, all right, well, if I'm trading this right here, and I'm risking to the high, and I want to take it to VWAP, although it looks great, Neil, look at that. This is a negative RR trade. The negative RR, it's less than 1. It's 0.78. So the question becomes, do I really even want to take it? Unless I find a place where I can risk to the high and then maybe take it towards VWAP right there. If it can bid up and make a lower high, then you can see how the RR changes significantly from under 1 to almost 3.5. So I'm going to be looking for that for a potential place to risk as responsibly and as little as I can to take some more reward off of the table there. That DJT as well I have on watch. DJT quite strong off of the open. Now we're getting a little bit of a pullback here off of a high. 30.92 is the current high on DJT, but we already kind of visited those prices yesterday. You can see here. Yesterday's opening range high is right at 31.20 and today's high is at 30.92. So in and around the same area where we got that aggressive selling coming in off of the open on DJT. Now you guys can see I have a little bit of a red line sitting here on DJT, and where you might ask that might come from. We got that strong sell-off, intraday news, whatever it was on Tuesday. Look at that again, confirmed with volume. I have no idea what the news was, but again, one of my top indicators is the volume, and the volume definitely speaks volumes, I would say, as it kind of this consolidation breaks down and we're getting aggressive volume, even higher than some of the opening range volume coming in on this selling that happened on DJT on Tuesday. So I have an anchored VWAP. Shout out to Brian Shannon there. Anchored VWAP to that volume, to that breakdown that does happen. And take a look at this over the past couple of days. We've been holding that, and even in the pre-market, look how beautifully that price action holds that 29.24 area right now as that strength comes in off of the open there. So again, it seems like the bid is to be found in and around this anchored VWAP in that area. Of course, again, got to be watching the tape and the price action and the charts to actually maybe even try to make a plan in and around some of these levels there. But look at that reversion, nice, beautiful reversion to VWAP coming in. Much better RR on this one, but again, a little late as the entry could have been closer to that 90, maybe in the 70s as well, risking about 20 pennies. And now we're getting that flush all the way down to VWAP. 30.11s is VWAP. We're trading at 30.32s right now, Neil. So I'm not really seeing too much. I did get my hands on the trigger for that IONQ. But again, that reaction it seems like it's not over just yet as IONQ continues to the upside right there. So that bid continuation, even on lower volume now, but something to note is that relative volume is pretty stable as of right now. It's not increasing or decreasing, but relative volume sitting at 2.5 on IONQ, but the volume has been falling off. So I do want to keep my eyes on this one for potential opportunities going into the day. FXI as well. We know we had names on the Chinese tickers right here. Look at that beautiful fade to the downside. Absolutely clean selling all the way back down. So that little bit of a gap that we did get overnight, gap. I guess the Hang Seng is kind of selling off right now. HSI is the ticker here if you want to look that up right there. And this
big bounce
session,
on Bitcoin there.
Big bounce on Google, you said?
No, Bitcoin. Oh, I gotta give you an update. Yeah. So I got out of MAR. We went 2 for 3 on MAR over there, but this is what just happened on BTC. A little bit of I don't want to call it a lit grab, but you lost 68,000, got all the way down to 67.8, half or so, and then you just came right back into the 68 level. So if it can hold 68, I'm gonna want to get back into this on Mara. I'll go to the 15-minute. We had the breakout trade into 18.8. We dip bought. We're able to get out again. 18.8 tried to break through but failed. Dipped into 18.5 for a reload, and then that lost 18.5. And that's where we're now holding on BTC. So if 68,000 can hold, I'm going to want to join back in on that trend. But if we don't, it's a pretty binary thing. I don't want to be fighting the price of BTC at all. I do not want to be going against the grain. I liked it when we were breaking out, but not if we're going to lose that fall through. Apple's putting in some higher lows as we speak. Of course, I went over to BTC. I could have just gotten into Apple right in here. There's the higher low we're looking for. So we're pretty patient, but I wanted to grab this higher low if we could. The market's still looking relatively weak here, everybody. But I feel like you want some serious confirmation that the long is going to be in. Speaking of that confirmation, like here comes Alibaba. This is the first green candle of the day, right at that 102. But this time, we're not in it off of the wrong side. We're looking for that break of this local high in here. This can get above 102.10, kind of break this prior bar. I think we can head into VWAP at least. So letting it get down into the 102 level that we like, not catching the falling knife, and now I can set it. And it's not set it and forget it, but if we break that 102.10, I want to look to get into Alibaba for the first time. In here, we're going to grab some Alibaba. So keeping an eye on that MAR. I want to make sure Bitcoin's going to give us the follow through that we want. Otherwise, we got to stay away from that one. 18.5 still holding. NVIDIA not really giving me the entry on the short. That does lead me to AMD. If I'm not going to get 140 on NVIDIA for the fade, AMD's underneath previous close. It's underneath, I guess, afternoon resistance. It's underneath pre-market lows. It's actually barely green on the session. But under this 157, I don't care that it's above VWAP per se. It's still relatively weak compared to some of the other chips that I'm seeing. Might have to look for the short here off the 157 level. If we're not breaking out the highs today, I feel like one of these chip names was going to be a reversion, but NVIDIA with 140 was going to be my level. I'm not going to get 140, so got to look somewhere else.
Yeah, that Apple, a nice little base, kind of a turn happening here on Apple. So I got eyes on that one as well. I kind of missed that 135, 134 half hold as we did break some prior, I guess, some structures there on that one. And by structures, I just mean on a shorter time frame right there. So let me just get some of these indicators out of the way. Don't really need any of that. Maybe VWAP. We're at VWAP, but again, some of those pre-market levels coming in as of right now as well. So the bid has, I guess the bid has caught a little bit on top of that 234. Futures pretty much sideways here. You can see the NASDAQ right here, pretty much sideways underneath that 20,500 mark. So hasn't really broken out of that level with any real distinction. But Apple, a bit of a reversion happening off of these lows here as of right now. Reverted all the way to VWAP, a little bit above as well. Opening prices in and around, what is that? Is this the 930? That is the 930 opening price at 236.28 right there. Clean, nice little flat candle right off of the open there. Should be interesting if we can get back all the way there on Apple. The bid is definitely catching off of this 234. Missed on my part, but again, some of these trades, man, you got to be a sniper, right? You have to be you got to be waiting, you got to be watching, that price action as well. And that's what I realized as of recent. Like, I don't need to be something interesting. I was going through some of my best trades over the past few months, right? And I'm like, all right. So as of recent, again, Neil knows this. I've been kind of grading my trades, giving it a score out of 10 there, just to figure out, I guess, what are some of my better opportunities that I'm taking? What am I performing better on? And what I realize is, like, some of the best trades that I'm taking literally do not come every day. So the question becomes, why am I really trading significantly with the same kind of aggression every day, right? We're going to continue this talk right after we get back from Adara. What's up?
Let's take a look here at Serve Robotics here, SERV. Nice pop for this one here in volume. Both these first two 15-minute candles of this Friday. On Wednesday, they announced this new third-generation autonomous delivery robot. So new product update on Wednesday. No news from today, but they have a 17.3% short float. And this one runs semi-frequently. So keep an eye here in SERV, pushing into previous resistance at 950, guys.
Thank you very much, Sarah Dara. So Bitcoin did make that hold above 1868, not 18. That would be crazy if we saw 18,000, everybody. So there's your hold of the 68 level. It's just a 3-minute chart. Just want to make sure I have a shorter term time frame to be able to get myself that look to get back into Mars. So there's when it lost VWAP. There's the couple of scout trades we had before. Now this is the hold of the 150 level. I'm going to start getting out here into the high of the day because, well, I mean, if you're not breaking that trend line to the upside, you still have overhead resistance on Mars. So while I want to keep taking these pot shots, hold it into the top, see if we can't get a bigger move. Ultimately, you have to remember Bitcoin is at pretty major resistance on the daily chart. Not getting any mid fills in there. Let me sit at 65. Maybe I'll get a fill at 65, and I'm sitting at 67 as well the next couple to the upside. I want to make sure we're holding on about 25% if we do get a high of the day break on BTC. Alibaba came right in, gave me that break at 10s. I actually got 10s, which is weird. I should have got 11 or 12s. Was able to get a couple of fills. Sorry about these wicks in here. It got to about 102 quarter mark and then started to come right back in. So it's holding 102 for now, but if we make a fresh low and break down under this low of the day, then I'm getting out. It's that simple. Low of the day breaks, going for the dip buy at this level, took the entry where I liked it, but I'm not going to hold through that low of the day. We're just going to jump out of the trade. It's just like Mara. You can get out, and then if it makes a low at 18.25, maybe I like it down there. But I can get right back in at the same price. You don't have to hold a losing trade. You can get out, and then you can get back in, and then work right back into the upside. It's already a point in the money at that 18.7 mark. We're already looking okay here over in Mara. Going to get one more fill out in front of the high of the day, and then we'll see how far this can go. With eyes on Bitcoin this entire time here, I think we have a chance to really fly on MARA. I haven't really looked at like Coinbase or anything else. Mara was always going to be in focus for me. As it's 10 o'clock, what's happening now, Adara?
Quite a lot happening right now, including Fed's Kashkari taking the mic here, set to start speaking at 10 a.m. At 12:10, we'll get comments from Feds Waller, and then at 12:30, we'll get a second round of comments from Feds Bostic. Feds Bostic also spoke at 9:30, but didn't see any comments coming out from him. So guess nothing market moving has been said as of right now. In terms of economic data, it is a bit of a lighter day, but we did get a stronger than expected housing number at 8:30, and then weaker than expected building permits numbers here. Although even the housing number was lower than expected on a month-over-month basis. So bit of mixed economic data prints coming at 8:30. No other prints, but like we said, quite a few Fed speakers to keep an eye out for. We actually have the NASDAQ stronger than the S&P 500 today. Part of that could have to do with this beautiful push up in Netflix, up almost 10% right now and holding on nicely to that 750 level. They had a really strong earnings report, beats across the board for earnings per share and sales. 14.4% year-over-year increase in paid subscribers and a 35% quarter-over-quarter increase in their ad tier subscribers. They're also expecting their paid additions to be higher in Q4 than Q3, which they're citing or attributing here to seasonality and their content slate. So great look for NFLX, great look for the Qs as well as a result. Intel on watch here, still in a bit of a range, finding some resistance from yesterday's resistance level around 22.75s. But CNBC reporting that this company is considering selling their minority stake in Altera for $17 billion as they undergo quite a few challenges. So INTC on watch here. Last but not least, AXP, another earnings day. This one basically at lows of days, doing almost the opposite of what we're seeing here with Netflix. They missed on sales, but beat on earnings per share. They actually raised their EPS guidance for 2024. So keep an eye on all these names today. Also some continuation plays in the Chinese ADR space and crypto staying strong.
Strong, certainly. MSTR, look, obviously a lot of people are going to be looking at different names when it comes to crypto. What?
Yo, what's happening? Yeah, no, I'm just we were just talking about this IONQ kind of consolidating here as of right now. Hasn't really broken down like I was looking for just yet. But yeah, still kind of. I think the position board. It was showing my position a little earlier, but then I think a little bit of I guess it kind of it went off again. But again, IONQ pulling back up towards its high. So let's see whether or not this one will work out here as of right now. Nice little tight consolidation. What is this? 1340s as of right now, and 1370s is the high. We're trading at 1366s. Currently, so super strong as of right now on a lot of these tickers here. Let's take a quick look at SMR as well and some of these other nuclear names to see what they're up to. See if there's anything distinctly different in between any of these names here right now. So I know the other one was Dominion. This was the one that was actually on the news, partnering with Amazon and Friends right there. Dominion was one of the ones that actually publicly traded. That one is trading to the downside as of right now, with a bit of a sell-off off of the open, trading at 59.41s. And I think NNE, people were pointing out, and OKLA as well. So NNE with another leg up to the upside, some strong volume, stronger than any of the bars that we've seen so far, pushing through its highs there on NNE. Another one, OKLA, I guess it was the other. Okay, OKLO, sorry, OKLO. Continuing to push to the upside there as of right now. So aggressive. It seems like IONQ is the only one that's kind of lagging behind. There it is. It gets stopped out once.
Oh my goodness.
Of IONQ. What is going on? Drug is open.
Oh, it's definitely on something. That's for sure. This drug stock. I'm gonna get to crypto in a second. I had a mic issue there, and I did want to get to MSTR in a quick second. But obviously, drug almost 100% to the upside. It just gapped over the 40 level in here. Looks like it was about to do a lit grab. It looked to me like it was about to go into a bit of a liquidity grab underneath the 40 level, but now it's breaking back. I just want to remind everybody on the 15-minute, once this is through 47, you're looking at some fresh highs. 3 days ago, this was that top at about 47. So it is making that charge. I'm not one of them that would ever chase one of these. Just keep in mind, if it fails this level, I could see it going into a halt down because it is at major resistance. Drug is continuing to fly. Congratulations to everyone that does have it. Because crypto's running, this is what's going on in MSTR. So it's about to get to like the 210 level. Pretty much everything crypto looking relatively strong as we speak. I just got a test of the high on Mars, so we bought the dip back again at 18.5. Technically 52s off of VWAP. But the one thing that I don't love as much is, yeah, you're still getting the sellers here at 18.8. So I want to see VWAP hold. That's great for the trend, but we're scalping out into that high of the day. If we get a break, I'll get one out in front of 90s and one out in front of 19 even. But right now, I think we're waiting for the next available dip buy. It was a really good question before we went up to ADR the last time in the chat, and it was like, why is it hard to trade at 9:30? There's a lot of the bamboozlement in the first 5-10 minutes in the market. A lot of liquidity grabs, a lot of people trying to get stopped out, market makers trying to get people stopped out. So you do have to have a very distinct plan of action and be willing to have a good out and just get the next trader better in, or just be very, very patient with your trades. If you can't trade in and out oftentimes, then you want to make sure that you're waiting for the perfect setup.
I think that's fair there. A bit of a wicking action here on IONQ. So let's see if we can kind of potentially come back into this. I'm gonna take one more try at this one here, and see if that. So that was a little bit of a wick of those highs, and we aggressively slam right back in there on IONQ. So I think it's worth taking maybe one more try on this one there as it comes back into the downside as of right now. So yeah, Bright Minds, aggressive. Look at that, holding that 35. Oh boy, that 35 kind of showing itself multiple times, and that consolidation, sure, we do trade a little bit below it, but 33.98, so about a point below it, and then we're pushing right up into 47s off of that halt that we got into 40 right now. Oh boy, are these shorts trapped? Definitely, it would seem like. Neil, so gonna keep eyes on this one there. I gotta watch this 35, man. But I'm like, all right, do I really want to risk a full point on this? It deserves that risk, is the answer. I think again, with something that's halting in and around like this, then you got to be able to you got to be willing to kind of give it the risk that it deserves if you are understanding the bigger picture of what is going on the underlying here. Now again, how many shares float is this thing, you may ask? About 2.88 here that I have, so about 3 million, just shy of 3 million float. But again, it's done significant volume over the past few days. If you take a quick look at this, look at that. First day right here. And now again, the numbers could be slightly different on different platforms, but again, this is just to reiterate what's the magnitude of volume that may have been happening. 21 million on the first day, 102 million, almost 103 million on the second day. Third day, 13 million. Look at this. Fourth day, 2.6. We talk about a liquidity grab where there's low volume, failure to follow through back down to the downside. It was doing significant volume on the upside, and it can't even break back below 20 million when the volume is dead. And then you get another gap up, push back up, holding prior levels here. That initial day, the way we held that $11 level, that was interesting. That's definitely something to study. And then the way we've been holding that 21, 22 level as well, kind of stair stepping on this liquidity trap all the way back up. 48 highs as of right now, currently pushing on Bright Minds Biosciences. So interesting watch nonetheless. Now shout out to, I think it was somebody in the chat was asking us to look at a few names there. I'm just going to scroll back up right there. Scott H. asking us to check out Peloton and Reddit. So let's take a quick look at those names right now and see what Peloton and Reddit are going to be doing. So Peloton, let's do that one real quick right here. As that one pushes, wow, look at this one, Neil. Oh boy, this thing is breaking out. Is there some sort of catalyst on Peloton? Maybe, maybe not. But by the time you ask that question, the trade could be gone. Neil, what's going on? Is you got your mic? I
think we've got my mic issues fixed. Apologies, everybody.
Okay. I think Fabian wants me to continue.
Okay, go ahead
for a little bit right here. So until we get that, until we get Neil's mic sorted off, I'll continue to talk about Peloton and Reddit here. So Peloton, absolutely crazy. No, I don't know what the news is as of right now, but let's take a quick look at a higher time frame real quick to give us a bit of a perspective here. So post earnings, we did a nice wide consolidation, guys. So look at this consolidation range right here. So if I can just clip those highs on the pull right here.
Yeah, we're good.
If I want to do, okay, one more right there. Okay,
there we go.
Right here, about a 1 point consolidation right here on Peloton, and then now we're breaking out. Is the breakout on expanding volume? That's the next question that I'm asking. Sure, it's on a little bit of volume there. We got that aggressive volume coming into this drive that we had on Monday. Take a look at that, Neil. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, a bit of a low volume days right there, and another strong push with strong volume on a Friday. Yeah, so $6 coming in here on Peloton here, and we will check out Reddit right after we come back from Adara. What's up?
I wasn't seeing any news in Peloton, though. They did announce last night they're reporting earnings on Halloween. So 2 weeks from now, Thursday, October 31st. Now, Nokia has another one, really strong push to the upside here. Gap down yesterday on weaker than expected earnings across the board. They missed EPS and sales estimates. Then we also had Reuters reporting that Nokia is cutting 2,000 jobs in China and another 350 jobs in Europe as part of their cost-cutting measures. Great look for them right now, though. NOK here pushing into high of days. Nice uptrend over the last few days. Again, after that earnings gap down, guys.
Thank you, Adara.
And I don't know why Zero Gravity Zen would think that I wouldn't get a Happy Days reference. I mean, I'm not the youngest person in the world. I'm not old enough to have watched that one when it was on. But, I mean, come on. Happy Days, the Fonz, legendary. It is what it is. Here's the issue. Mara triple top now. So Mara can get to the high. It just can't break the high at this point. And that's part of the trend to the upside. You can't just take the reservation. You've got to keep the reservation. So obviously, I still like that the trend is holding here on Mara. Where did my trend go? There you go. There were those highs, but we just took another leg out. I'm basically holding on to the last 10% of the trade for it to try to hold trend and maybe look for a re-entry. But you can't seem to take out that top. And we're scalping early and then waiting for the dip into VWAP. The dip into VWAP came. Now I want to see some strength, not just that initial dip. Show me a consolidation over VWAP here that I can dig into on Mara and try and make another run at this high of the day. But now 3 times, your higher lows into a flat top. I do still like it, but you need to show me a little bit more here on Mara. Alibaba, sorry about the wick there, just dark pool stuff. It did not quite get to VWAP, so it bounced off the 102. It's gotten into 102.40 as the high. 102.5 is going to be VWAP. I want to see it hold another higher low. I have one more out in front of 102.5, and then we'd look for that to break VWAP and then a continuation play. As far as the chips go today, everybody, I mean, it's like the market's not bad. And you look at the NASDAQ as a whole, like the NASDAQ's been trying to press through those highs, like higher lows as it's trying to press through. Then I look over at pretty much all the chip names that I watch. NVIDIA's holding VWAP, didn't really go dip by where I wanted it. We wanted off of yesterday's lows because they were obvious, or maybe the 135. It can't seem to test the high. It can't seem to retest the low. So I like the fact that you're holding on to VWAP, but it needs to pick a direction to be able to join, and it hasn't done so yet. AMD is still relatively weak. Doesn't really want to get above the 157. It's threatening to go red. This one feels like it should be the short. Unfortunately for AMD, it has been red the last few days, bit of a downtrend, not yet at the 50 period, and you can see the support at 155. That's the trouble with the short. It's Friday, 155 is a big level on the daily chart, and of course it's a big options level. So I would suspect you're going to see a bounce at 155. But if we can't stay above VWAP or break the 157, there's room for a scalp short here on AMD. Next available pop, going to be looking short on AMD, if not just a VWAP short here. On advanced micro devices. Doesn't look very good. Grizz saying SMCI. Is that better of a setup than AMD? That's worth checking. SMCI is strong. Yeah, SMCI is on the strong bucket. AMD looks like it's a short, but SMCI does not look like that at all. It's an inside morning so far. Failed a breakout of 48.4, but you know what? You held the low. If it can break this and hold the 48.40, like this resistance from there, that would be a nice little continuation long for SMCI. Yeah, I'd be thinking more setting up for a long trade in SMCI, and I'd worry about the short in something like an AMD, which is incredibly weak here. Even Apple's trying to hold on to VWAP, and
I mean, maybe we
not
get a
quite
higher
doing
low.
it.
That's. I mean, I was looking for.
Just be patient. What happened?
The bull kind of fell off. I did put the bull on top because I'm just like, we are experiencing all-time highs on a few names.
That's
right
something
there.
else.
Netflix. So I just, again, so, you know, what I realized, Neil, trading is a little bit of a balancing act. So You know, you got to be able to balance a lot of different things, a lot of different factors as well. And sometimes the bull's over the bear, sometimes the bear's over the bull, but the balancing is what matters there. So IONQ, again, something interesting that I've been kind of I guess maybe reading about as well, maybe kind of looking at as well. We got a low volume wick that took out the highs on IONQ. We got a low volume wick, which I got stopped out on, and then it comes right back in. So I feel like whenever that's happening, I want to get right back in on the trade, and got to be real fast on that one there. IONQ does that, and then drops all the way down to 20s there. 1320s now pushing right back up. So some choppy action on this one. Interesting price action nonetheless. Something that I'm definitely kind of I guess learning real time here. But Apple for that reversion.
Drug?
Sorry, have I seen? Yeah, no, I'm watching Drug as well, man. Drug is another one right there. It's getting higher and higher. I don't know when it'll stop, but it's starting to trip me out real hard right now.
It's halted to 51.
It's halted. Yeah, exactly. It's gonna. I talk about this. It's a liquidity trap. It's a textbook liquidity trap. Did not get involved in the pre-market. That 35 level, I did kind of mention it here to some of my pod members. I was like, yeah, that 35 looking interesting. Hopefully they are watching it. Maybe they take some executions in and around there, but you definitely have to be risking a little wide on that one there. But I'm looking for a higher low on Apple. Again, if that bid is real, where will it catch? We caught on 234, but if the market continues to trade sideways, I'm going to be looking for a higher low here on Apple to maybe potentially execute on. What is going on, Adara?
Just a quick update on Netflix for those who are looking at this. This one is actually briefly claimed 760. So NFLX still really strong to the upside, breaking above that previous resistance at 734 to trade at new all-time highs. And again, continuing to push higher here, up about 10% on a really strong earnings report for NFLX.
Thanks very much, Adara. Gonna have to get out. I didn't want to look a gift horse in the mouth on Alibaba, but it just lost the 102 level. So we got it, and I think the timing was at least a little bit better than usual, but maybe not the best entry. Could have actually had it here right at the 102, like 01s, or even like 98 or 99. We could have had that long. It does press into the 40 level. That's the best that it gets, but it just lost that recent support. So I'm out of it. I wanted to set up the next long. Don't mind. You take the profit, scalp out, get out, work back into it. The same thing we'll do with MAR. Want to make sure when a stock is trending to the downside, you can take your wins, but I don't want to be fighting it all the way to the downside. Don't mind wicking out and finding another entry point in there. AMD, still want that one to be a little bit of a short for me. It's not really pressing back into the 157. It's just kind of losing VWAP. I want something setting up a little bit better than that for a short. I think the money fills are at the 157. But here comes DJT holding that 30 level. Shout out to everyone that's looking at this one. 30's been a key level. I like the fact that it lit grabbed underneath 130 and then regained it. So you're getting these higher lows into a potential hold of VWAP on DJT. So it might have rinsed a bunch of people out, so some longs are probably gone in here. If you can start to hold VWAP in the 30 level, this looks like a bit of a continuation play as well on DJT. So just preaching some patience. Mara's back in the money. We've been sitting in that one this entire time. Here, NVIDIA is still looking weak. Apple can't hold a higher bid here either, Obi.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to be very patient. We have a very inside morning on the futures. Fail break of the low, fail break of the high, sitting in the middle. Yep. This is exactly where you don't want to be over trading. Yes, not when this is what's happening. You want it to pick a direction and you want to join. You want to only look for longs in the strong stocks, look for shorts in the weak ones, but wait until you get to a key price level. And if you don't have that happen on one of your Mag 7 or bigger names, then you can look at something like the DJTs of the world, the IonQs, and the Drug is a little bit of a different beast, and let those set up, because they're not going to care as much what happens in the overall market. Oh, let's go to Adara, take care of some business.
This part of the show is brought to you by Trade the Pool. Trade the Pool allows traders like you to get evaluated and trade real shares using the company's capital. No PDT rule holding you back. That's how they give a true trading edge. Here's the exciting part. Trade the Pool has just launched a limited edition program to evaluate stock traders like you. For a one-time fee of just $97, you'll receive $20,000 in buying power, and all you have to do is reach the profit goal. The best part of this limited edition program is that they've reduced the profit goal and the minimum trades required to reach the funded phase, and the profit split's been upgraded so you keep 70% of the profits. you should definitely want to check it out. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description for more information.
Thank you, Adara. People in the chat talking about Reddit as well. If you guys didn't know, thank you again, Scott H. Reddit is pushing all-time highs right now. Reddit all-time highs is 79.49, and we are trading at 79.49 as of right now. That prior high on Reddit was 78, so about a point and a half roughly above that prior all-time high on Reddit. So, oh boy, this thing is really setting up for a push above. We're making higher lows as well. Look at that 50 bounce, Neil. Oh boy, talk about a reversion on the weekly. We revert from 50 all the way up to 40, almost 100% move on Reddit there as of right now. So let's go down to a shorter time frame and see what's going on the intraday. Look at some of these volumes there. Look at that strong volume expanding off of the open, not even into the open, not really doing too much in the pre-market either. But look at that relative volume also starting to expand as well as Reddit pushes towards all-time highs. Weekly high here at that 78.77 on Reddit. So it's going to be an interesting one to watch as that trend continues. Again, we are holding and hugging that VWAP. No real extension away from that VWAP just yet. So if you're looking for, I don't know, this is me more talking to myself. I'm not looking for a reversion on this one. We're too close to VWAP. But again, that strength coming in with that expanding relative volume and that volume as well. Shout out to Scott H for pointing this one out right now. But we're going to go to Dara with the small cap recap.
Small caps are definitely in season, that's for sure. IWM right now actually at a pretty interesting level, rejecting that 227.40 area. As you can see, that's been resistance for a bit of a while here, last few days at least, on this 15-minute chart. Now we're finding support, though, at that previous level of support resistance for the Russell 2000 on the 15, which would be about 226.25. So that's an area from which we had that breakout if we go back to Wednesday. So interesting look here for the Russell. Quite a few areas we're playing around right now. Quite a few small cap gappers, of course. It would be foolish not to talk here about DRUG. This is Bright Minds Biosciences. Ticker, again, is drug or DRUG. This company's had a bit of quite a few pieces of news over the last week, though. Initially, they started gapping up before this was announced. Today's story, though, is a $35 million non-brokered private placement. For context, this one earlier this week had a market cap of $5 million, quite a bit higher now. They also do have a float of just under 3 million shares. 35% insider owned, so pretty significant portion insider owned and small float. Now, following up drug, we have SoberSafe, SOBR. This company has rallied in the past. This is not its first time running, up about 80-90% right now, filing a Form RW announcing that it is not pursuing a public offering as of right now. Sober also has a float of under 2 million shares here. And last but not least, VTAK. This one trades on the Amex. It's up over 200% right now. Catheter Precision is the name of this company, and they are in the catheter space. They have been attending from Wednesday to Friday here, this catheter ablation technique conference, currently at this conference. So not saying any specific news story, but could be related to that. They do also have a market cap of just over $3 million and a float of around 2.5 million shares, guys.
Much there. There is a very distinct difference between sober and drug right now. It is distinctly different, but it almost feels like sober is doing what drug did yesterday in some ways. Look at the price action off this at 15. And there is nothing going on special on the level 2 here of sober. When you look at that barcoding action on sober, like look at this. No volume, look at the spread. There's nobody bidding at 15. There's a 25-cent spread most of the time. There was nobody even at the 15 level for it to be doing this. It's just hanging on to this because nobody's selling. That's exactly what drug did yesterday in a lot of ways, where it was just hanging on to the bid and there was no volume. So no one punching short, nobody can get out of position. If you're caught off guard on this one, you're basically just stuck in it, and now it's squeezing to the upside. So I think you might be, it looks like sober is doing a bit of a consolidation day. If it can hold on to 15, I think that's good, and I wouldn't give up on it on Monday if it does that. So drug is completely gone at this point. Obviously, you guys can see that. I wouldn't be chasing it. Mara, as you can see, no reload for me. It does not hold on to the trend line. It's basically just holding on to the prior low. So I'm in at 52. I'm holding on to the last few pieces here. If it can't hold on to this support at 1845, I'm just going to jump out of the trade. It's done well, but it's not doing enough for us at this particular point. So we got to be able to move on. Apple's still trying to show me the higher low that I want, but it's not doing a very good job of it.
Revert Netflix?
Like, look at it at 235 underneath VWAP, consolidating underneath VWAP.
Risk a point.
No, it needs to hold above VWAP or give me the trade off the 234 level that we liked before. And I can hear Obi talking about Netflix and a reversion. Well, if you're going to play a reversion on Netflix, it's not very steep. Like, the trend that it's on since the break is not a very steep one. And the risk reward for myself, like if I'm looking at a break of this, like this trend line, no good. You'd have to go for this, which you'd already be in. So like since it broke this high off the opening range, you'd look for that trend line. You need to be in this one off of 60 already, and then you're giving it 2 points to try to get back into $750. Feel as if you'd already need to be in that short, risking $2. I'm staying away from the short on Netflix. I don't think that's going to be the one for me. Now that AMD's above VWAP, I'm looking back at this 157. This is one that I want to play short back into the 57. I know Netflix is juicy for a mean reversion trade. Oh, yeah. But it has to set up so perfectly, Obi, as strong as it is.
I looked over at Sharif. I was like, yo, you're trying to revert Netflix? And he's like, yo, that's, I mean.
Careful with that.
It's going to be, I mean, it's a, you got to be precise. You got to be a sniper. But again, if the bid kind of dissipates, if it kind of cracks trend, maybe perhaps that could be a potential trade. Earnings day one, maybe you definitely don't want to be on the front side of that move. But if you are looking for a reversion to VWAP, perhaps it could be a decent opportunity. And that VWAP right now is confluencing with that 750. 750 is a bit interesting as well, right? So nothing really setting up for me just yet as of right now. And again, we were talking about this earlier as well with Neil. Some of the trades that again are more in my ballpark. I'm realizing the ones that I do well on, they don't show up every day. They do show up a few times a week. So if I can, again, shout out to Sharif, pack my patience for those setups to show up and really put risk on those ones, then I think the trajectory will be much cleaner as well. I think even in terms of I guess serenity, mental calmness, it's going to be definitely better as well because I know I'm giving the appropriate risk for the trades that I've shown myself to be better at. Right? And in between, sure, you can still trade in between, but not putting on significant risk in between. Because is it worth my time? Absolutely not. If I know I don't really necessarily perform on it, sure, I could be like, I can maybe develop that skill over time, and I'm sure you know that can definitely be on the horizon if you put in the appropriate time. And Neil saying Sober is halted down. What is Drug doing?
Oh my God, that tap is nasty.
What's happening?
Okay, so first off. No, I said no reload in Mara. Did not like the way that it approached that high. So no reload and then out under the prior high. So stick to the guns. We're able to get out tight and get right back in, same price. Play it all the way back 850 to 880. But that last little bit, it just does not want to bounce. So we'll wait for this next trade to show up there on that crypto name. Sober just halted to the downside. It was indicating $9 before. Now the indicated open is 10. It's halted at $13.37 with an indicated open right now of $10 even. That is obviously pretty nasty here on Sober. So that's the danger with these stocks. Let me just have a quick look and see what Drug is doing. Drug is in the midst of a pullback. What's crazy is if you were playing mean reversion on Drug, you'd be in the short off 50 right now. Boy. But I can promise you that I did not pay for locates on Drug. I have no idea what they cost. And when I looked to see if it was liquid enough in Canada where we have free locates, the answer is a resounding no. The book is so thin in Canada. It's so I'll just get the book. Yeah. It's so thin in Canada that you can actually see that's like 1 cent on the bid. Like, it's ridiculous. There is no liquidity in the Canadian one, so you're not trading it at all.
What's actually printing? That's the question.
I don't know why anybody's printing because there's no liquidity. Why anybody would trade it there?
A couple lots there.
It's beyond me. It's entirely insane as far as I'm concerned. There are some runners here. Sorry, not runners. There are some strong big cap stocks. So obviously Apple's not setting up the way I wanted, and I was just scanning through a few things. Amazon
boy.
Higher lows, hopefully everything's okay there. Higher lows into a potential break of the high. Yeah, that'll wake you up a little bit. Higher lows into a potential breakout at 189 here on Amazon. So this one, nice liquidity grab. See, if I was looking at this over Apple, Apple hasn't been bad. You just had to scalp it for the longs. It's not giving you continuation. But Amazon looks like it's primed for a 189 breakout. If we get a dip on this, great. Maybe you get VWAP in here. But this looks like it's the next one to go. Super strong, Amazon. Don't want to miss this one breaking 189.
Yeah, no, I'm keeping a close eye on Apple here, but before that, we're going to go to crypto with Adara.
Very interesting story here for crypto, but quickly first, just in case anybody is missing it, we do have comments from Feds Bostic, who is on the schedule for 9:30, but I'm seeing some comments come through right now. Feds Bostic saying that due to uncertainty around the election in November, there could potentially be a lull in investment activity and household spending. So just a bit of a flag here coming from Feds Bostic with regards to how election uncertainty might impact some areas of spending. Now onto a very fascinating story in the crypto world. You may recall right before we had the approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs, there was a post from the SEC Twitter account saying that they had been approved. That post was made erroneously. Well, apparently as of Thursday, as of yesterday, we did have the Justice Department announcing the arrest of a man in Alabama named Eric Council Jr., who actually had hacked into the SEC account using something known as a SIM swap involving an iPhone to basically post this tweet, of course, spiking up the price of Bitcoin briefly until Gary Gensler said this has not been approved by the SEC. Interestingly enough as well, apparently after this was made by Eric Council Jr., after this hack, apparently he Googled how to know if the FBI is after you. So really interesting stuff here. If you were following that spike in Bitcoin with that falsely posted news of approval, this could be an interesting story to keep an eye on for you. Good look here for BTC. I have the weekly chart up here. We're coming into an interesting area of resistance on the weekly chart. Going back to July, we ran into this area quite a few times. That's about 68.2. Right now we're at 68,300. Let's see if we continue up here. Nice build here off those lows in September when we were around that 55,000 level. Again, 70,000 has been viewed as a pretty key level of resistance for BTC, so we'll have to see if we're able to eclipse that area. Right now, Bitcoin and Ethereum both pretty strong. On a percentage basis, BTC stronger than ETH right now. ETH up about 1.33%. Solana up about 2%. Dogecoin up about 11.5%. Generally, with the exception of Tron and XRP, we have a lot of strength right now in these crypto-related names, guys.
Thank you very much, Adara. That's a pretty amusing story. I cannot tell a lie. Obviously, you should not do stuff like that, but at the end of the day, you can get a few kicks and a laugh out of it. Highly legal, don't ever do it. AMD did get to 157. It checked up. It did go. It's hard to see now because I have a 3-minute chart up. I like a 3-minute chart, but I'll show you a 1-minute chart just so you can see the execution on it. So I let it get to 157, kind of try to break the high, go right into that prior high, get in when it failed the prior high, and then give it to that top. So I was in on the back end per se, not just trying to catch a falling knife, or in this case, like stand in front of a moving freight train, whichever analogy you happen to like, but it does break the high. So I waited for it to get to my level, did get in on the backside, and then just let it stop out if it's not going to hold underneath, which is what I want to see happen. Mara, while I didn't reload, it decided to reload. So it's still going on Mara. I can get rid of that trend line. It doesn't really matter. Now when you go higher time frame on Mara, it's starting to look good again. Now, obviously, $19 is still a level on the daily. And obviously 18.8, where we've stalled out, is a bit of a problem. But they just did a liquidity grab. I know, because I was in it. And now you're holding back above the 18.5. So I want to go back into this trend. As long as we are putting in those higher low or support levels and going back into the whole higher low game, I want to work off of 18.5. I want to work off of VWAP here when it comes to Mara. So just going to be very patient with our entry points. Amazon's still looking for a top end break. That's holding pretty well, top side. Apple is a huge disappointment. It's now trending right back into the bottom. We had a couple of decent scalp trades off of Apple, but did not. The biggest one would have been in here, where you could have had 234.5. It's now trying to catch a bit off that same level. But Apple's trend down at this point. You can't really respect the trend when it's going down if you're trying to go long. You have to try to find the higher low play, like when it makes a nice little rounded bottom, you want to try to get it off of that, but it made one extra low when we're going into the longs. Again, we were taking profit and making sure we stopped out, not losing on it. But ultimately, it has to set up really well as it's going against the old grain. SMCI still looks pretty strong as well. I think some of these chip names are different from others. And now SMCI is really setting itself out. I was looking for a higher low off of VWAP. It just refused to make one until now. And now you've got that 48.5. I don't know if you're watching this one, Obi, but it's now held that 48.5 level and is very nicely trend up. So a consolidation long. Forget about NVIDIA today. I keep looking up and NVIDIA is doing nothing. SMCI is up 2 points. You got to be able to move on to the stock that's trading a little bit better. So I'm going to be a little bit more focused on this SMCI, looking for entries. And ultimately, when you're scanning for opportunities, you're always trying to get those best opportunities, Obi. Like, you want to have, generally speaking, like a list of names that you like the best. Like, I keep a watch list up. I have my iPad where I have a few names out there. I have a quote board, which I'm usually going to want to lean into. And it's just the names that I have on watch, just to make sure that I'm not missing something like incredibly obvious. You know, and if there's a name out there that is usually one of the ones that I trade, and I look at it and I try to sort my quote board from not just what it's doing from the previous close, but what it's also doing from the open, so I can see what's strong and what is relatively weak. I see Coin is going, I see IBIT's going, that's why I've been watching Mara, but there's not a lot standing out. And when that's the case, you want to make sure you have the right tools available to you. And when you're scanning for symbols, when you're looking at charts, whatever it might be, eSignal is a great place to allow you to trade smarter and not harder. Now, upgrade to an elite trading experience, whether you're analyzing, strategizing, capitalizing, whatever it might be, eSignal is going to be for you. You have instant trading on unlimited amounts of data, charts that will change the game for you, every indicator you could possibly imagine. Most importantly, in my opinion, I say this every single time, backtesting is a very important part of any strategy development. eSignal has a very great backtesting program allowing you to test your theories to see if they even worked in the past, and then if they can work in the future, because forward testing is real. Test them as they go. So you're going to be able to scan, as we said, looking for the best trading opportunities out there, what's gapping, what's moving, what's doing relative volume. You want real-time data so that you can see what is happening in the now, and then it's going to be there when you need it. So everything you need is all in one place with eSignal. So if you're ready to elevate your trading, scan the QR code or click the link in the description and check out an advanced charting platform used by a lot of professionals. Sean's been using it for years. I know I've used it on and off for sure over the years, and a lot of traders on this floor have used it in the past. So I can tell you right now, and currently using it, I can tell you when you're looking for opportunities, I can stare at NVIDIA all day long, but you got to be able to find that SMCI, if you're looking at the chips, is much stronger. So it's about to break out the high of the day as we speak. I like it as long as it's above 48.5. That was that key level on the 15. Next available dip buy, I want to join trend on SMCI. And it's a pretty hefty uptrend. That one, solid. But I think when it gets to VWAP, I usually like a trend after VWAP. So there's your VWAP hold. It can hold this 48.5 in a lot of ways. And I'm buying the next available dip in what seems to be the strong one. That's not drug, because drug's on a different level. I'm talking about chip names here. 3% is pretty good for SMCI today.
Yes, so no, I'm just watching this drug action there, watching that Apple as well, and yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, Neil, about continuously scanning, right? Like I said this morning, gotta continue watching. Like what I was asked, oh, well, what are my top ideas? I think, yeah, Dara asked me in the morning, like, okay, what are you looking at? And I was like, well, I don't really have any sort of tickers necessarily in mind, but I will be waiting and watching and hunting for setups there, and I think that's something definitely to note, as it has definitely helped me out in the past. Like, okay, sure, you have your trade ideas that you make overnight. When you come in the morning, a lot of that price action that happens in the after hours and maybe even in the pre-market could kind of throw some, if not all, of your ideas right out the window, and you're like, all right, well, what's next? So that happens pretty often as well. And then you got to continuously scan throughout the day as well. So just to show like what I got going on some of my other screens here, you can see that again. I'm continuously watching multiple tickers. I have multiple tabs open with a lot of different things here. Here I have a bit of a tech basket where I'm watching, like as soon as somebody says, oh, you know, NVIDIA is moving, I got eyes on AMD, Intel, SMCI, SMH, Micron, ARM, you know, TQs, everything like that. What's in play today? I'm looking at FXI, I'm looking at Apple, I'm looking at TSM, earnings day 2, I'm looking at American Express, earnings day 1, I'm looking at Netflix, earnings day 1, I'm looking at Ally Financial, earnings day 1, I'm looking at drug, obviously. Again, look at this beautiful chart on drug. Shorts are definitely getting rocked on this one, and as soon as I saw IONQ, I put that one up here as well. So I have eyes on multiple names, and then I also have a multiple, I guess a multi-time frame kind of setup here as well, where if I want to look at a specific ticker. I'm looking at here, okay, so this one isn't really set up that well right now, but here we can go to IONQ. Got the weekly, got the daily, got the 15-minute, got the 30-minute, got a 5-minute and a 3-minute, and sometimes I move that over to a 5-second. So it's like you definitely want to have some sort of perspective of the tickers that you may be interested in as the day progresses, as the day moves along, because again, you will miss trades, you will kind of see trades in retrospect, you'll see kind of stories building. But you know, it's always good to have tools at your disposal to kind of have that market perspective as the day kind of goes along right now. But right now, Adara is at the green screen. What's going on, Adara?
I just saw a tap of 100 on drug.
So much excitement in this market today, but we have a bit of a more muted sector board on watch. Not a ton of action happening here in technology services, with the exception of NFLX up about 10%. On its earnings report, also a bit more muted in the consumer services space, retail trade, consumer non-durables, utilities, consumer durables, and the communication space as well. Now, in terms of strength, we do have the NQ leading the SPY right now, and you can certainly see that reflected in electronic technology. Apple up here on their China iPhone sales, NVIDIA to the upside, as is AMD. So lots of strength in that sector. We also have some upside in health technology, though. Eli Lilly, its largest component, a little bit flat today. So a little bit of strength as well in finance. Bit of a mixed look, though. AXP on its earnings day 1, bringing this group a bit to the downside. Now, in terms of outsized red sectors, there's really only one of note. It's going to be energy minerals. We have XOM and all of these other tickers that moving to the downside. Bit of a move down in energy, especially when contrasting the strength that we had a couple weeks ago. Health services also a little bit weaker here. ELV and CI to the downside on day 2 of Elevance's earnings. Lots of analysts weighing in with price targets to the downside after that report yesterday, guys.
We're about a few cents away from the high of the day again on SMCI. It's about to break the 49 level. I'm scalping some out in front of the 49. If it does a false break here, 49, I'm going to look for that higher low again, staying on the trend in front of 48.7. So SMCI relatively strong here. I mean, NVIDIA is underneath VWAP. We showed you AMD a bunch of times. Just went over to the strongest name because we were just talking about scanning for strength. I'm not making this up. But a couple of seconds ago on this halt of drug, which is now up 165%, the indicated open price was 100, then 80, now a more reasonable 73. Yep. So it's indicating it's not even, I can't show you that level on the chart because it's at 58, but super strong move here for drug. I don't know where it's going to open, but if it was going to be a 5-minute halt, it should have just opened up. My guess is because the tap was so ridiculous and the lack of liquidity, this is going to be a 10-minute halt here on drug. It's now indicating 81. It's all over the place. So obviously people are trapped in this. I mean, anybody that's short, if they haven't already been rinsed, they're certainly getting rinsed right now. If you're in it, congratulations to you. No one ever went broke taking profit. It's like the strongest stock out here, but it is a pure squeeze type play. So the tap's all over the place. It's going to be a 10-minute halt as far as I'm concerned here, because now it's been over 5 minutes. So good luck to anyone that happens to be in this. So SMCI doesn't make the break of 49, but we did scalp some out into that 49 break. I want to be holding through the break, buying the dip on any potential failed breakout. And then Amazon, which we also like for some relative strength. No 189 break just yet. It's doing a bit of a bull flag here on Amazon. It'd be easier to see on the 15-minute, but you guys can get the idea here. Holding on to 188.25 or quarters or so. If it can continue this consolidation, might look for the next available dip into this 188.25. If it loses this, I think you're headed down into VWAP anyway. So just try to be patient. We're able to find SMCI because it's relatively strong, and we just wanted to see if we can get a fill either off these lows here on Amazon or breaking out the top to join that trend to the upside. It is a strong one. Rivian Millionaire, can I explain what a bull flag is? Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not a chartered market technician, but I guess it does look better on a 3-minute. No, all a bull flag is you're going to have a strong upward trend, and then you want to have some kind of a consolidation which forms a flag pattern. So whether you're looking from here to here, and then you get the flag, which would be something like in there. So this forms your flag part, and there's your flagpole. All it means is after a strong move up for a bull flag, you have a consolidation at those highs. Now it can upward slope or downward slope. I really don't care. It just means that it's holding the high end of the range after a strong move up. That's what you're concerned with. And then you look to either, if you're bullish, trade the range long or trade the breakout. It's just giving you a bullish setup and just indicating that it's got support after making a strong move to the upside. That's what you're really concerned about here with Amazon. Relatively strong name. And the market's up 0.6%. It's up 0.6%. But I like this consolidation that you're doing to set upside. So drug will be open in a few minutes for anyone out there. Whoops, I keep putting in the Toronto one, which you don't want to trade, trust me. But we'll be open in this in about 2 minutes. It's indicating an $80 open still. 90, okay, it's still ridiculous here on drug. This is going to be insane when it opens back up here. I wouldn't be surprised if it lick grabs the 100 level and then does a bit of a dip to the downside.
Yeah, no, I'm continuing to watch some of these nuclear names here, which kind of reminded me. I'm like, maybe I showed you guys all my tabs just now. I need to have another tab with just solely these nuclear names on it because, as pointed out in the chat, some of them are looking distinctly different. You can see that IONQ pulling back into VWAP, but OKLA is well near its highs as of right now. You can take a look at NNE as well. NNE near its highs. So IONQ looking distinctly different than some of these other names there, which have not pulled back into their VWAP just yet. So I think it might be a good idea for me to kind of put all these names kind of side by side and see if there's any distinct difference happening within this I guess impromptu nuclear sector off of the news that we had earlier this week of a lot of these large cap tickers kind of looking for nuclear fission reactors to kind of power their AI what do you call? I guess
data centers.
Their centers, their operations, AI operations is what I was trying to say there. So yeah, no, this is the world we live in, almost sci-fi-esque, where it's like, you know, okay, we have a technology, we need more power. Let's make our own little nuclear reactors. Soon enough, we're gonna have Iron Men flying around with all these CEOs. You know, they're coming up with these high efficiency energy modules, and hopefully we can get something really, really small. And that would definitely change the world. I really like where we're headed. If money is being spent in the right places when it comes to like technological progress, I have no qualms.
I am qualmless as well when it comes to that. We believe in it. I think it makes a lot of sense. There's no chance you're going to have all these. Look, the hyperscalers are not slowing their spending.
Oh boy.
Which shows you we just got the demand out of TSM to know that it's not going anywhere. You got to power all of this. So like, the SMRs of the world look absolutely fantastic. There's been a few questions about Apple. It just doesn't look very strong right now. It's starting to give you the higher lows going back in. So this is what I've been waiting for. We caught it on the downside and got one good long. I mean, obviously we took profit on some, but who cares? Like this was a better long in here, and then this is the long that you really wanted off 234.5. It's showing you support off of that level as well, now putting in higher lows. But it's clearly relatively weak. So it's only now put in the higher low. Yeah, if it holds 234 or 33 in here, I'd look for a bounce play long. I'd much rather be in Amazon, however, which is, as we're talking about that bull flag, it's very strong. Either we're breaking out this top or we're getting the dip back into the 188 level. It just seems much more clear to me that we've got strength in Amazon over Apple, and that's why we're taking a look at. Oh, okay, there goes Tesla. as we speak, Tesla's breaking out the top here. Keep in mind, it's a Friday, 225 is going to be resistance, I think, on Tesla. We're talking about strength. Amazon looked like it was going to break. SMCI got very close to breaking that top and is still up there, but Tesla just took that 222 and in earnest is continuing to go. So this looks like another one where you want to make sure you're joining the trend line here off the 222. Super strong stock here in Tesla. If it gets to 25, I still maintain that's going to be a short for me, but I want to get the next available dip on Tesla. And yeah, drug, it is still, it's been 10 minutes here and it's still not open. I'm guessing they're having trouble finding any liquidity on drug. The tap is still $75, but they have not opened it up. Let's go to Adara with Money Talks, and maybe this thing will have resumed trading.
DXY at a pretty interesting level here. Yesterday, we broke above that previous area of support here that could have formed as resistance. That was back in mid to late July here, July 18th. This is a run at 103.20 area. Now we're actually resting at that area. So giving up basically all of yesterday's move as of right now for the DXY. Got a couple economic data prints earlier today. Housing starts slightly higher than expected, so 1.354 million versus 1.350 million expected for the month of September. Though there was a larger than expected drop on a month-over-month basis. So housing starts dropping by 0.8% on a month-over-month basis compared to estimates of 0.4% drop. Building permits lower than expected here, 1.428 million versus 1.46 million expected, dropping on a 2.9% basis here versus a 0.7% drop expected for those building permits. No other economic data today, though we did have some comments from Feds Bostic earlier saying that due to some uncertainty around the election, there could be a bit of a lull in spending on investments or on household items. So keep an eye on those comments. We're actually set to have more comments coming in just over an hour at 12:10 from Feds Waller. Then at 12:30, we'll get another round of comments from Feds Bostic. More comments here coming from Feds next week. It's another lighter week for economic data, though. On Friday, we'll be getting the final Michigan consumer sentiment print for the month of October. So next Friday, a week from today. Again, though, a bit of lighter economic data as we gear up for the November and December FOMC meetings, guys.
Another one going here. While drug is still halted, it's ATNF now 70% to the upside. It just had to reopen in a take of the $7 level. If you're following along here with this, obviously ATNF, you're out and about, but there's lots of resistance to like $10. It's got room to run before it gets to this $10 resistance level on ATNF. If it holds this halt price, I want it to set something. Wow, okay, forget about it. It just held the $7 halt level. To be sure, but with room to $10, I'd like to look for something on a dip that you can give to the $7 level. This is absolutely flying. While I'm waiting for drug to open back up, this one is going absolutely ham. So you got to look for sometimes these sympathy plays. There is that news that was moving like NUZE, but that's like it's a coffee company. Yeah. I don't know if I want to be believing in that one on a day like today. Obviously, you know, you want to be in the names that are actually giving you the bigger moves and giving you the bigger action in terms of volume. But 180 Life Sciences here, ATNF, flying around to set upside. Yeah, not a very good look in the market. NVIDIA just lost VWAP. Let me go back over to AMD, which I want to see if it, yeah, AMD is right back into that 157. So this might be setting up the short again for Advanced Micro Devices. And if you're wondering why I like the 157, essentially, it was at pre-market low and then the opening range resistance level. It's still above that resistance on AMD, so got to watch out for that. And then SMCI, which was cruising right into the highs, I just got the dip back into that in front of that 48.60 level. So we got the move into 49, now dipping, still staying on trend as SMCI, but with AMD, with NVIDIA losing VWAP there, got to watch out and keep it a tight stop here on that re-entry trade. If it get any pop into the highs, got to make sure we're taking profit on it because this market does not want to break higher. And if NVIDIA goes lower, at some point it might start dragging everything else down with it. So good luck if you're trading those small cap runners. I'm going to wait for one or two of them to try to calm down a little bit here. But SMCI, good move into 49. We'll see how the second volley goes now.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll keep an eye out on some of these small cap movers going forward. But I got my eyes on this. I guess I made a bit of a basket here of all of those nuclear kind of names as well. So let me show you guys what I got. Now let me know in the chat if I'm missing any names here. So I got Dominion Energy, I got NNE, I got IONQ, I got Nanonuclear, oh, is that two of them?
NNE is Nanonuclear.
Sorry, SMR, and then NNE as well. I got OKLO, I got XLE. I want to keep an eye on that one as well. I got Uranium URA ETF as well. That one's bidding up alongside that. And yeah, I got space for, I guess, a couple more. I'm more than willing to replace some of these. So let me know in the chat. Am I missing any nuclear names that have been moving as of right now? All right, Rivian Millionaire talking about BWXT. Let's take a quick look at that one there. What is BWXT? Oh boy, there it comes down. IONQ to the downside, looking distinctly different than some of these other names as of right now. Oh boy. Stock selection, got a little lucky with that one there. Okay, there it is. Open on drug, opening at 62s. Okay, I was looking at 70s, maybe perhaps 62s.
It's halting down.
Halting once. Wait, where is it halting? It's not
62.
How's it halting at 62 though?
It opened 69.
Insta halt. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. Look at that. It just opened up at the halt price. Is that what you're telling me, Neil? It opened up at the halt price.
No, I think it opened at 68.
Okay.
It opened at 68 and then halted down at 62 from what I could see. The other thing that's happened,
I think Neil's chart might be.
No, we got to get over to the market for a quick little second. So drug, it looked to me like it opened up at 68, halted down at 62. It might have been a 69 open, but you're losing the bid here. I mean, obviously, we saw NVIDIA go, this is a NASDAQ retesting the opening range bottom. So you got to get the you-know-what out of Dodge. Amazon's at the support. But you got to be able to preserve profit. I wanted to go back over to SMCI. We had SMCI to the upside. It lost support levels. Get out. Wait for VWAP. If it can hold VWAP, great. But do not want to get caught just sort of leveraging the whole way in. I had just drawn the trend on Intel to look for reversion, and look how quickly it failed. So Intel got to 22.8. That's yesterday's high. Does the mean revert? I'm shorting pops on this one for sure. So I know we liked AMD before, and AMD definitely set up at the 57 level, but AMD just held, whereas Intel just fell apart underneath VWAP. So we're going to see how far it can get on the bounce. If it goes all the way to trend top, fair. If it fails VWAP, I want to short VWAP. Just be very, very careful. I mean, the market hasn't really failed that low yet. As a matter of fact, Amazon now catching the bid at the 182.25 mark. So I still like Amazon for the longs. I'm going to sneak in here so if I can't weasel my way into the 30s and join this trend of the upside. That's what it's been this morning. Find something that's actually giving you an entry point. Wait till it gets there and take it. Not try to fight anything. We're having a very inside day at this point. I do see Isra in the chat, and I'll get to this JBLU very quickly. I just wanted to show that I want to get that bid on Amazon in front of the quarter mark. JBLU is the definition of a linear move to the upside. Like, you can't misdraw a trend line in here if you're doing so on JBLU. Up 8%. It is a breakout, but that is very much, like, that's almost like an algo buying trend level that you're getting off this break at 760. Usually, a trade for me would set up, if it does this, goes parabolic at some point and then tries to mean revert. Or does a hefty dip that allows you to buy said dip. So either you get like a distinct dip down, which it had been doing earlier, and then you try to go long, or it does a parabolic move up and you look for the fade off of the parabolic move up. When it's going linear like this, you need to already be in that trade, or you're going to run yourself into some trouble there. So the next thing I want to grab is Amazon. We know the relative strength. It didn't make the breakout that we're looking for off the highs, but it's certainly held on and confirmed that 188.25 is still support here on AMZN. Robbie V says news is starting to go.
Yeah, no, I'm still kind of a little bewildered on that drug move, because a couple different platforms here not really showing that. People in the chat also saying that it opened up at 69 and then pulled back into 62 for a halt down. But I'm not seeing that price action on a few different platforms there. So interesting stuff nonetheless. But it is halted down, or it is halted as of right now. I guess halted down as well. And we talked about that. I was like, yeah, it's probably going to open up in the 60s or maybe even 70s. That seems a little fair with what it's been doing. I guess a 69 to 62 pull back in. That's absolutely crazy. So going to keep eyes on this one. Like I said, I want to wait for it to kind of settle down and finish all of its halting, maybe for the volume to kind of die off as well a little bit there. But if this thing has shorts trapped, oh boy, which I'm pretty sure it does, Neil, with the action that we've been having. Something to note as well is that prior high right here before this, just shy of 60, 59.96 is the pre-market high of the first day, or was it the first day? I guess the second day of this moving, because I know that the first day we did kind of, let me get this view up out of the way here. The first day that drug kind of moved with some significant volume was on Monday here. We started off, oh boy, we started off at a low, opening range low of $1.13. Was there volume prior days? Maybe a little bit here. You can see that people probably, I don't know, Wednesday had a little bit of volume as well. So anyways, regardless, a strong move up on day one on Monday. Started going parabolic off of the open there on Tuesday. Wednesday, a little bit of sideways chop, so maybe people are looking at this as backside. Maybe swing shorts are getting in and like, okay, well, this is going back to $1. It has no business trading here at the 30s. Look at this day right here, the lowest volume day of the week, trading underneath 3 million as of right now. It's opened at 35 right now, 32, 34, 60, 62, 65 roughly is what we're trading at right here on drug. And yeah, second day, when on that third day, on Thursday, low volume, and then we get that push back up. Oh boy, definitely the failure to follow through. That's the liquidity trap that I'm kind of talking about. And when we get back through those prior highs, we talk about that 35 being a little significant, showing itself not only prior days in the pre-market and off the open as well. We get a 100% move off of that 35 mark as of right now. Or
wow, you know what time it is?
Right now. Oh boy, it is 11.
It's already 11 o'clock, so time flies. There's a couple of things I want to get to. I did grab Intel at VWAP for the short trade. Amazon's breaking the high of the day, so we waited for this one to confirm support, make a higher low, get in the long. Now we're playing it through that high. Amazon going to likely break this 190, at least the way it's 189, I should say. 189.90 was yesterday's high. It's trying to break it out. You just have to be patient. Find the strong stock, move over to it, or find a weak one if you want to go short, as this is trying to take the highs. But it is 11. We'll be back at 2 o'clock and see what the heck drug is doing at that moment. Yep. But I know there's going to be some small cappers and some runners on tap for you. And on top of that, some options lessons, because we've got Joseph, we've got Sharif. Go get them, gentlemen.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade, formerly known as That Midday Show. That's your boy, Joe.